This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Chip in Tampa, Florida, on February 23rd, 2006. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, edited by D. Laing Purves. This reading is based on the book The Canterbury Tales and Other Poems. The original text contains poem by Chaucer and a lot of notes and explanations by the editor. To view these, please click on the Gutenberg eText link on the LibriVox catalog page of The Canterbury Tales. The Sompnor's Tale. The Prologue. The Sompnor in his stirrups high he stood upon this friar, he hearte was so wood, that like an aspen leaf he quoke for ire. Lordlings, quoth he, but one thing I desire, I you beseech that of your courtesy, since ye have heard this false friar lie, as suffer me I may my tale tell. This friar boasteth that he knoweth hell, and God it wot that is but little wonder, friars and fiends be but little asunder. For pardie, ye have often time heard tell, how that a friar ravished was sent to hell, in spirit ones by a vision, and as an angel led him up and down, to shew him all the pains that there were. In all the place saw not he a frere, of other folk he saw enough in woe. Unto the angel spake the friar tho, "Now, sir," quoth he, "have friars such a grace, that none of them shall come into this place?" "Yes," quoth the angel, "many a million, and unto Satanas he led him down. And now hath Satanas," said he, "a tail broader than that of a carrack is the sail." "Hold up thy tail, thou Satanas," quoth he, "show forth thine erse, and let the friar see where is the nest of friars in this place. And less than half a furlong way of space, right so as bees swarmen out of a hive, out of the devil's erse there gan to drive a 20,000 friars on a rout, and throughout hell they swarmed all about, and came again as fast as they may gon, and in his erse they creeped every one. He clapped his tail again, and lay full still. This friar, when he looked, had his fill upon the torments of that sorry place. His spirit God restored of his grace into his body again, and he awoke, but natheless for fear yet he quoke. So was the devil's erse aye in his mind, that is his heritage of very kind. God save you all, save this cursed frere. My prologue will I end in this mannere. The Tale. Lordlings, there is in Yorkshire, as I guess, a marshy country called Holderness, in which there went a limitour about, to preach and eke to beg, it is no doubt. And so befell that on a day this frere had preached at a church in his mannere, and specially, above everything, excited he the people in his preaching to trentals, and to give for Godde's sake, wherewith men mighty holy houses make. There as divine service is honoured, not there as it is wasted and devoured, nor where it is needeth, not for to be given as to possessioners, that they may liven, thanked be God, in wealth and abundance. Trentals, said he, deliver from penance their friendes' souls, as well old as young. Yea, when they be hastily sung, not for to hold a priest jolly and gay, he singeth not but one mass in a day. Deliver out, quoth he, anon the souls, Full hard it is, with flesh hook or with owls, to be y clawed, or to burne, or to bake. Now speed you hastily for Christe's sake." And when this friar had said all his intent, with qui cum patre forth his way he went. When folk in church had given him what them lest, he went his way, no longer would he rest. With scrip and tipped shaft y tucked high, in every house he gan to pour and pry, and begged meal and cheese, or elles corn. His fellow had a staff tipped with horn, a pair of tables all of ivory, and a pointel y polished fetishly, and wrote alway the names as he stood, of all the folk that gave him any good. Askance that he would for them pray, "Give us a bushel wheat, or malt, or rye, a godde's kitchel, or a trip of cheese, or elles what you list. We may not cheese, and godde's halfpenny, or a mass penny, or give us of your brawn, if ye have any, a dagon of your blanket, leve dame, our sister dear. Lo, here I write your name. Bacon or beef, or such thing as ye find. A sturdy harlot went them aye behind, that was their hoste's man, and bare a sack, and what men gave them laid it on his back. And when that he was out at door anon, he planed away the names every one that he before had written in his tables. He served them with knifles and with fables. "Nay, there thou liest, thou Sompnor," quoth the frere. "Peace," quoth our host, "for Christe's mother dear, tell forth thy tale, and spare it not at all." "So thrive I," quoth this Sompnor, "so I shall." So long he went from house to house, till he came to a house where he was wont to be refreshed more than in 100 places. Sick lay the husbandman whose that place is, bed rid upon a couche low he lay. "Deus hic," quoth he, "O Thomas friend, good day," said this friar, all courteously and soft. "Thomas," quoth he, "God yield it you full oft. Have I upon this bench fared full well. Here have I eaten many a merry meal." And from the bench he drove away the cat, and laid down his potent and his hat, and eke his scrip, and sat himself adown. His fellow was y walked into the town, forth with his knave unto that hostelry, where as he shope him that night to lie. "O dear master," quoth the sicke man, "how have ye fared since that march began? I saw you not this fortnight and more." "God wot," quoth he, "laboured have I full sore, And specially for thy salvation Have I said many a precious orison. And for mine other friends, God them bless, I have this day been at your church a mess, And said sermon after my simple wit, Not all after the text of Holy Writ, For it is hard to you, as I suppose, And therefore will I teach you aye the glose. Glosing is a full glorious thing certain, For letter slayeth, as we clerkes sayn. There have I taught them to be charitable, And spend their good where it is reasonable. And there I saw our Dame. Where is she? Yonder I trow that in the yard she be, said this man, and she will come anon. Hey, master, welcome be ye by Saint John, said his wife. How fare ye heartily? This friar riseth up full courteously, And her embraceth in his armes narrow, And kissed her, sweet and chirketh as a sparrow with his lips. "Dame," quoth he, "right well, as he that is your servant every deal, thanked be God that gave you soul and life. Yet saw I not this day so fair a wife in all the church, God so save me." "Yea, God amend defaultes, sir," quoth she. "Algates welcome be ye, by my fay. Grand mercy, dame, that I have found alway; But of your greate goodness, by your leave, I would pray you that ye not you grieve. I will with Thomas speak a little throw. These curates be so negligent and slow To grope tenderly a conscience in shrift, And preaching is my diligence, And study in Peter's words and in Paul's. I will walk and fish Christian menne's souls, To yield our Lord Jesus his proper rent. To spread his word is alle mine intent. Now by your faith, O dear sir," quoth she, "chide him right well for sainte charity. He is aye angry as is a pismire, Though that he have all that he can desire. Though I him wry* every night, and make him warm, And over him lay my leg, and eke my arm, He groaneth as our boar that lies in sty. Other disport of him right none have I. I may not please him in no manner case. O Thomas, je vous dis, Thomas, Thomas, this maketh the fiend, this must be amended. Ire is a thing that high God hath defended, And thereof will I speak a word or two. Now, master," quoth the wife, "ere that I go, what, will ye dine?" "I will go thereabout." "Now, dame," quoth he, "je vous dis sans doubt, Had I not of a capon but the liver, And of your white bread not but a shiver, And after that a roasted pigge's head, But I would that for me no beast were dead, Then had I with you homely suffisance. I am a man of little sustenance. My spirit hath its fostering in the Bible. My body is aye so ready and penible To wake, that my stomach is destroyed. I pray you, dame, that ye be not annoyed. Though I so friendly you my counsel shew, By God, I would have told it but to few. Now, sir," quoth she, "but one word ere I go. My child is dead within these weekes two, Soon after that ye went out of this town. His death saw I by revelation," said this friar, "At home in our dortour. I dare well say That less than half an hour after his death I saw him borne to bliss in mine vision, So God we wis. So did our sexton and our fermier, That they have been true friars 50 year. They may know, God be thanked of his love, Make her jubilee, and walk above. And up I rose, and all our convent eke, With many a tear trilling on my cheek, Withoute noise or clattering of bells, Te Deum was our song, and nothing else, Save that to Christ I have made an orison, Thanking him of my revelation. For, sir and dame, truste me well right, Our orisons are more effectual, And more we see of Christe's secret things, Than boral folk, although that they are kings. We live in povert' and in abstinence, And boral folk in riches and dispense Of meat and drink, and in their foul delight We have this worlde's lust all in despite. Lesar and Dives lived diversely, And diverse guerdon hadde they thereby. Whoso will pray, he must fast and be clean, and fat his soul, and keep his body lean. We fare, as saith the apostle, clothed and food suffice us, although they be not full good. The cleanliness and the fasting of us freres maketh that Christ accepteth our prayers. Lo, Moses 40 day and 40 night fasted, ere that the high God full of might spake with him in the mountain of Sinai. With empty womb of fasting many a day received he the law that was writ with God's finger. And Eli, well ye wit, in Mount Horeb, ere he had any speech with highe God, that is our libes leech, he fasted long, and was in contemplance. Aaron, that had the temple in governance, and eke the other priestes every one, into the temple when they shoulde gone, to pray for the people, and to do service, that would drinken in no manner wise, no drink which that may them drunken make, but there in abstinence pray and wake, lest that they died, take heed what I say, but they be sober, that for the people pray. Where that I say no more, it is sufficeth. Our Lord Jesus, as Holy Writ deviseth, gave us example of fasting and prayers. Therefore we mendicants, we sely freres, be wedded to povert' and continence, to charity, humbleness, and abstinence, to persecution for righteousness, to weeping, misericorde, and to cleanliness. And therefore may ye see that our prayers, I speak of us, we mendicants, we freres, be to the high God more acceptable than yours, with your feasts at your table. From paradise first, if I shall not lie, was man out chaste for his gluttony, and chaste was man in paradise certain. But hark now, Thomas, what I shall thee sayen, I have no text of it, as I suppose, but I shall find it in a manner glose, that specially our sweet Lord Jesus spake this of friars, when he said thus: Blessed be they that poor in spirit be. And so forth all the gospel may ye see, whether it be liker our profession or theirs, that swimmen in possession, fie on their pomp, and on their gluttony, and on their lewdness. I them defy. Me thinketh they like Jovian, fat as a whale, and walking as a swan, all vinolent as bottle in the spence. Their prayer is of full great reverence. When they for soules say the psalm of David, lo buff they say, cor meum ecrutavit, who follow Christe's gospel and his lore. But we, that humble be, and chaste, and poor, workers of Godde's word, not auditors, therefore right as a hawk upon the sowers, up springs into the air, right so prayers of charitable and chaste busy freres make their sores to Godde's ears too. Thomas, Thomas, so may I ride or go, and by that Lord that called is Saint Ive, ne'er thou, our brother, shouldest thou not thrive. In our chapiter pray we day and night to Christ, that he thee sende health and might, thy body for to wield hastily. God wot, quoth he, nothing thereof feel I. So help me Christ, as I in fewe years have spended upon divers manners freres full many a pound, yet fare I ne'er the bet. Certain my good have I almost beset. Farewell my gold, for it is all ago. That friar answered, O Thomas, dost thou so? What needest thou divers friars to seech? What needeth him that had a perfect leech to seeken other leeches in the town? Your inconstance is your confusion. Hold ye then me, or elles our convent? To pray for you is insufficient? Thomas, that jape it is not worth a mite. Your malady is, for we have too light. Ah, give that convent half a quarter oats, and give that convent 24 groats, and give that friar a penny, and let him go. Nay, nay, Thomas, it may no thing be so. What is a farthing worth, parted on 12? Lo, each thing that is owned in himself is more strong than when it is y scattered. Thomas, of me thou shalt not be y flattered. Thou wouldst have our labour all for nought. The highe God that all this world hath wrought saith that the workman worthy is his hire. Thomas, nought of your treasure I desire, as for myself, but that all our convent to pray for you is aye so diligent, and for to builde Christ's own church. Thomas, if ye will learn for to worch, of building up of churches may ye find. If it be good in Thomas' life of Ind, ye lie here full of anger and of ire, with which the devil sets your heart on fire, and chide here this holy innocent, your wife, that is so meek and patient. And therefore trow me, Thomas, if thee lest, ne strive not with thy wife as for the best, and bear this word away now by thy faith. Touching such thing, lo, what the wise man saith, within thy house be thou no lion. To thy subjects do none oppression, nor make thou thine acquaintances for to flee. And yet, Thomas, eftsoons charge I thee, beware from ire that in thy bosom sleeps. Ware from the serpent that so slyly creeps under the grass, and stingeth subtilly. Beware, my son, and hearken patiently, that 20,000 men have lost their lives for striving with the lemans and their wives. Now, since ye have so holy and meek a wife, what needeth you, Thomas, to make strife? There is, y wis, no serpent so cruel when men tread on his tail, nor half so fell as woman is when she hath caught an ire. Very vengeance is then all her desire. Ire is a sin, one of the greate seven, abominable to the God of heaven, and to himself it is destruction. This every lewed vicar and parson can say how ire engenders homicide. Ire is in sooth the executor of pride. I could of ire you say so much sorrow, my tale should last until tomorrow, and therefore pray I God both day and night. An irous man God send him little might. It is great harm, and certes great pity, to set an irous man in high degree. Whilom there was an irous potestate, as saith Seneca, that during his estate upon a day outrode knightes two, and as fortune would that it were so, the one of them came home, the other not. Anon the knight before the judge is brought, that said thus: Thou hast thy fellow slain, for which I doom thee to death certain. And to another knight commanded he, Go, lead him to the death, I charge thee. And happened, as they went by the way toward the place where he should dey, the nighte came, which men weened had been dead. Then thoughte they it was the beste rede to lead them both unto the judge again. They said, "Lord, the knight hath not y slain. His fellow here standeth whole alive." "Ye shall be dead," quoth he, "so I may thrive. That is to say, both one and two and three. And to the firste knight right thus spake he, "I damned thee, thou must algate be dead, and thou also must needes lose thine head, for thou the cause art why thy fellow dieth." And to the thirde knight right thus he saith, "Thou hast not done as I commanded thee." And thus he did do slay them alle three. Iris Cambyses was eke dronclue, and I delighted him to be a shrew. And so befell a lord of his meinie, that loved virtuous morality, said on a day betwixt them two right thus, "A lord is lost, if he be vicious. An irous man is like a frantic beast, in which there is of wisdom none arist. And drunkenness is eke a foul record of any man, and namely of a lord. There is full many an eye and many an ear awaiting on a lord he knows not where, for Godde's love drink most attemptedly. Wine maketh man to lose wretchedly his mind, and eke his limbs every one. The reverse shalt thou see," quoth he anon, "and prove it by thine own experience. What wine doth to folk no such offence, there is no wine bereaveth me my might of hand or foot, nor of mine eyen sight. And for despite he dranke muche more, 100 part, than he had done before. And right anon this cursed Iris wretch this knighte's sonne let before him fetch, commanding him he should before him stand. And suddenly he took his bow in hand, and up the string he pulled to his ear, and with an arrow slew the child right there. Now whether I have a sicker hand or none," quoth he, "is all my might and my mind agone. Hath wine bereaved me mine eyen sight? Why should I tell the answer of the knight? His son was slain, there is no more to say. Beware, therefore, with lordes how ye play. Sing placebo, and I shall, if I can. But if it be unto a poorer man. To a poorer man men should his vices tell, but not to a lord, though he should go to hell. Lo, Iris Cyrus, the like Persian, how he destroyed the river of Gisen, for that a horse of his was drowned therein, when he went Babylon to win. He made that the river was so small, that women might wade it over all. Lo, what he said here, that so well teache can. Be thou no fellow to an irous man, nor with no wood man walke by the way, lest thee repent. I will no farther say. Now, Thomas, leve* brother, leave thine ire. Thou shalt me find as just as is a squire. Hold not the devil's knife aye at thine heart. Thine anger doth thee all too sore smart. But shew to me all thy confession. "Nay," quoth the sicke man, "by Saint Simon, I have been shriven this day of my curate. I have him told all holy mine estate. Needeth no more to speak of it," saith he, "but if me list of mine humility, "Give me then of thy good to make our cloister," quoth he, "for many a morsel and many an oyster, when other men have been full well at ease, hath been our food, our cloister for to rise. And yet, God wot, unneth the fundament performed is, nor of our pavement is not a tile yet within our wones. By God, we owe 40 pound for stones. Now help, Thomas, for him that harrowed hell, for elles must we our bookes sell. And if ye lack our predication, then goes this world all to destruction. For whoso from this world would us bereave, so God me save, Thomas, by your leave, he would bereave out of this world the sun. For who can teach and worken as we con, and that is not of little time," quoth he. "But since Elijah was, and Elisee have friars been, that I find of record, in charity y thanked be our Lord. Now, Thomas, help for Sainte Charity." And down anon he set him on his knee. The sick man waxed well nigh wood for ire. He woulde that the friar had been afire with his false dissimulation. "Such thing as is in my possession," quoth he, "that may I give you, and none other. Ye say me thus, how that I am your brother. Yea, certes," quoth the friar, "yea, truste well. I took our Dame this letter of our seal." "Now well," quoth he, "and somewhat shall I give Unto your holy convent while I live, And in thine hand thou shalt it have anon, On this condition, and other none, That thou depart it so, my dear brother, That every friar have as much as other. This shalt thou swear on thy profession, Without fraud or cavillation." "I swear it," quoth the friar, "upon my faith." And therewithal his hand in his he layeth. "Lo here my faith in me shall be no lack." "Then put thine hand adown right by my back," Said the man, "and grope well behind, Beneath my buttock, and there you shall find A thing that I have hid in privity." "Ah," thought the friar, "that shall go with me." And down his hand he launched to the clift, In hope for to finde there a gift. And when this sicke man felt this frere About his taile groping there and here, Amid his hand he let the friar a fart. There is no capel drawing a cart That might have let a fart of such a sound. The friar upstart, as doth a wood lion. "Ah, false churl," quoth he, "for Godde's bones, This hast thou in despite done for the nonce. Thou shalt abye this fart, if that I may." His meinie, which that heard of this affray, Came leaping in, and chased out the frere. And forth he went with a full angry cheer, And fetched his fellow there as lay his store. He looked as it were a wilde boar, And ground with his teeth, so was he wroth. A sturdy pace down to the court he goth. Whereas there woned a man of great honour, To whom that he was always confessor. This worthy man was lord of that village. This friar came as he were in a rage. Where this lord sat eating at his board, unnethes might that friar speak one word, Till at the last he said, "God you see." This lord gan look, and said, "Benedicite." "What? Friar John, what manner world is this? I see well that there something is amiss. Ye look as though the wood were full of thieves. Sit down anon, and tell me what your grieve is, and it shall be amended, if I may. I have," quoth he, "had despite to-day. God yielde you down in your village, that in this world there is none so poor a page that would not have abomination of that I received in your town. And yet ne grieveth me nothing so sore that the olde churl with Locke's whore blasphemed hath our holy convent eke. Now, master," quoth the lord, "if you beseek—" "No master, sir," quoth he, "but servitor. Though I have had in schools that honour, God liketh not that men us rabbi call, neither in market nor in your large hall. No force," quoth he, "but tell me all your grief." "Sir," quoth the friar, "an odious mischief this day betid is to mine order and me, and so par consequence to each degree of holy church. God amend it soon." "Sir," quoth the lord, "ye know what is to do'n. Distempt you not, ye be my confessor. Ye be the salt of the earth, and the Saviour. For Godde's love your patience now hold. Tell me your grief." And he anon him told. As ye have heard before, ye know well what. The lady of the house aye stiller sat, Till she had heard what the friar said. "Hey, Godde's mother," quoth she, "blissful maid, Is there aught elles? Tell me faithfully." "Madame," quoth he, "how thinketh you thereby?" "How thinketh me?" quoth she, "so God me speed, I say, a churl hath done a churlish deed." "What should I say? God let him never thee. His sicke head is full of vanity. I hold him in a manner frenesy." "Madam," quoth he, "by God I shall not lie, But I in other wise may be a rake. I shall defame him over all there I speak. This false blasphemer that charged me to part That will not departed be, to every man alike with mischance." The lord sat still, as he were in a trance, And in his heart he rolled up and down. How had this churl imagination to shew such a problem to the frere? Never ere now heard I of such mattere. I trow the devil put it in his mind. In all Ars metric shall there no man find Before this day of such a question, who should make a demonstration That every man should have alike his part, As of the sound and savour of a fart. O nice perude churl, I shew his face. "Lo, sires," quoth the lord with harde grace, "Who ever heard of such a thing ere now, To every man alike? Tell me how. It is impossible, it may not be. Hey, nice churl, God let him never thee. The rumbling of a fart and ever sound Is but of air reverberation, And ever wasteth light and light away. There is no man can deemen, by my fay. If that it were departed equally, What, lo, my churl, lo yet how shrewdly Unto my confessor to-day he spake. I hold him certain a demonic. Now eat your meat, and let the churl go play. Let him go hang himself a devil way." Now stood the lord's squire at the board, That carved his meat, and heard word by word Of all this thing which that I have you said. "My lord," quoth he, Be ye not evil paid. I could tell for a gown cloth to you, Sir Friar, so that ye be not wroth, how that this fart should even dealed be among your convent, if it liked thee. Tell, quoth the lord, and thou shalt have anon a gown cloth, by God and by Saint John. My lord, quoth he, when that the weather is fair, without a wind or perturbing of the air, let bring a cartwheel here into this hall, but look that it have its spokes all. 12 spokes hath a cartwheel commonly, and bring me then 12 friars. Know ye why? For 13 is a convent, as I guess. Your confessor here, for his worthiness, shall perform up the number of his convent. Then shall they kneel down by one assent, and to each spoke's end in this mannere full sadly lay his nose shall a frere. Your noble confessor there, God him save, shall hold his nose upright under the nave, and shall this churl with belly stiff and taut as any tabor hither be y brought, and set him on the wheel right of this cart upon the nave, and make him let a fart, and ye shall see, on peril of my life, by very proof that is demonstrative, that equally the sound of it shall wend, and eke the stink unto the spoke's end, save that this worthy man, your confessor, because he is a man of great honour, shall have the first fruit, as reason is. This noble usage of friars yet it is, the worthy man of him shall first be served, and certainly he hath it well deserved. He hath today taught us so muche good with preaching in the pulpit where he stood, that I may vouchsafe, I say for me, he had the firste smell of fartes 3, and so would all his brethren hardily, he beareth him so fair and holily. The lord, the lady, and each man save the frere said that Jenkins spake in this matter as well as Euclid or as Ptolemy. Touching the churl, they said that subtilly and high wit made him speaken as he spake. He is no fool, nor no demoniac, and Jenkin hath thee won a newe gown. My tale is done. We are almost at town. So ends the Sompnor's tale. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Chip in Tampa, Florida, on March the 7th, 2006. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, edited by D. Laing Purves. This reading is based on the book The Canterbury Tales and Other Poems. The original text contains poems by Chaucer and a lot of notes and explanations by the editor. To view these, please click on the Gutenberg eText link on the LibriVox catalog page of The Canterbury Tales. The Clerk's Tale. The Prologue. Sir Clerk of Oxenford, our hoste said, ye ride as still and coy as doth a maid that were new spoused. Sitting at the board this day, I heard not of your tongue a word. I trow ye study about so theme, but Solomon saith, everything hath time, for Godde's sake, be of better cheer. It is no time for to study here. Tell us some merry tale by your fay, for what man that is entered in a play, he needes must unto that play assent. But preache not, as friars do in Lent, to make us for our olde sinnes weep, nor that thy tale make us not to sleep. Take us some merry thing of adventures, your terms, your colours, and your figures, keep them in store, till so ye be indite high style, as when that men to kinges write. Speak so plain at this time, I you pray, that we may understand what you say. The worthy clerk benignly answered, Hoste, quoth he, I am under your yerde. Ye have of us as now the governance, and therefore would I do you obeisance. As far as reason asketh hardily, I will you tell a tale, which that I learned at Padova of a worthy clerk, as proved by his wordes and his work. He is now dead, and nailed in his chest. I pray to God give his soul good rest. Francis Petrarch, the laureate poet, hight this clerk, whose rhetoric so sweet illumined all y tale of poetry, as Linnean did of philosophy, or law, or other art particular. But death, that will not suffer us dwell here, but as it were a twinkling of an eye, them both hath slain, and alle shall we die. But forth to tellen of this worthy man that taught me this tale, as I began, I say that first he with high style inditeth, ere he the body of his tale writeth, a poem, in the which describeth he Piedmont, and of Saluces the country, and speaketh of the Pennine hilles high, that be the bounds of all West Lombardy, and Mount Vesulas in special, whereas the Po out of a wille small taketh his first springing and his source, that eastward aye increaseth in his course, Temilia ward to Ferraro and Venice, the which a long thing were to devise. And truly, as to my judgment, me thinketh it a thing impertinent, save that he would convey this matter. But this is the tale which that ye shall hear. The tale, Pars Prima. There is, right at the west side of Itale, down at the root of Vesuvius, the cold, a lusty plain, abundant of vitile. There many a town and tower thou mayst behold, that founded there in time of fathers old, and many another delectable sight, and Saluces this noble country hight. A marquis, whom lord was of that land, as were his worthy elders him before, and obedient, aye ready to his hand, were all his lieges, both less and more. Thus in delight he lived, and had done yore, beloved and drad, though favour of fortune, both of his lordes and of his commune. Therewith he was, to speak of lineage, the gentlest y-born of Lombardy, a fair person, and strong, and young of age, and full of honour and courtesy, discreet enough his country for to gie, saving in some things that he was to blame, and Walter was this younge lorde's name. I blame him thus, that he considered not in time coming what might him betide, but on his present lust was all his thought, and for to hawk and hunt on every side, well nigh all other cares let he slide, and eke he would, that was the worst of all, wedde no wife for aught that might befall. Only that point his people bare so sore, that Flockmel on a day to him they went, and one of them, that wisest was of lore, or elles that the Lord would best assent, that he should tell him what the people meant, or elles could he well shew such matter, he to the Marquis said as ye shall hear. O noble Marquis, your humanity assureth us and gives us hardiness, as oft as time is of necessity, that we to you may tell our heaviness. Accept, dear lord, now of your gentleness what we with piteous heart unto you plain, and let your ears my voice not disdain. All have I not to do in this matter, more than another man hath in his place, yet forasmuch as ye, my lord so dear, have always shewed me favour and grace, I dare the better ask of you a space of audience to shewen our request, and ye, my lord, to do right as you lest. For certes, lord, so well us like you and your work, and ever have done, that we ne could not ourselves devise how we might live in more felicity, save one thing, lord, if that your will it be, that for to be a wedded man you lest, then were your people in sovereign hearte's rest. Bow your neck under the blissful yoke of sovereignty, and not of service, which that men call espousal or wedlock, and thinke, lord, among your thoughtes wise, how that our days pass in sundry wise. For though we sleep, or wake, or roam, or ride, aye fleeth time, it will no man abide. And though your greene youth flower as yet, increepeth age always as still as stone, and death menaceth every age, and smit in each estate, for there escapeth none, and all so certain as we know each one that we shall die, as uncertain we all be of that day when death shall on us fall. Accept then of us the true intent, that never yet refused your hest, and we will, lord, if that ye will assent, choose you a wife in shorte time at the lest, born of the gentlest and of the best of all this land, so that it ought to seem honour to God and you, and we can deem. Deliver us out of all this busy dread, and take a wife for highe Godde's sake. For if it so befell, as God forbid, that through your death your lineage should slake, and that a strange successor should take your heritage, oh, woe were us on leave, wherefore we pray you hastily to weave. Their meeke prayer and their piteous cheer made the marquis for to have pity. Ye will, quoth he, mine owen people dear, to that I ne'er ere thought constraine me. I me rejoiced of my liberty, that seldom time is found in marriage. Where I was free, I must be in serviage. But natheless I see your true intent, and trust upon your wit, and have done I. Wherefore of my free will I will assent to wedde me as soon as e'er I may. But whereas ye have proffered me to day to choose me a wife, I you release that choice, and pray you of the proffer cease. For God it wot that children often been, unlike their worthy elders them before. Bounty comes all of God, not of the strain, of which they be engendered and y-bore. I trust in Godde's bounty, and therefore my marriage and mine estate and rest I him betake. He may do as him lest. Let me alone in choosing of my wife, that charge upon my back I will endure. But I you pray and charge upon your life, that what wife that I shall take, ye me ensure to worship her, while that her life may dure. In a word and work, both here and elleswhere, as she an emperor's daughter were. And furthermore this shall ye swear, that ye against my choice shall never grudge nor strive. For since I shall forego my liberty at your request, and ever may I thrive, whereas mine heart is set, there will I live. And but ye will assent in such mannere, I pray you speak no more of this matter." With heartly will they sworen and assent to all this thing. There said not one wight nay, beseeching him of grace, ere that they went, that he would grante them a certain day of his espousal, soon as e'er he may. For yet always the people somewhat dread, lest that the Marquis woulde no wife wed. He granted them a day, such as him lest, on which he would be wedded sickerly, and said he did with all this at their request. And they with humble heart, full buxomly, kneeling upon their knees, full reverently he thanked all, and thus they have an end of their intent, and home again they wend. And hereupon he to his officers commanded for the feast to purvey, and to his privy knights and squires such charge he gave, as him list on them lay, and they to his commandment obey, and each of them doth all his diligence to do unto the feast all reverence. Pars secunda. Not far from Thilic Palace honourable, where as this Marquis shope his marriage, there stood a thorpe of sleighte delectable, in which the poor folk of that village had their beasts and their harbourage, and their labour took their sustenance after the earth gave them abundance. Among this poore folk there dwelt a man, which that was holden poorest of them all. But high God sometimes sende can his grace unto a little ox's stall. Janicola men of that thorpe him call. A daughter had he, fair enough to sight, and Griseldis this young maiden hight. But for to speak of virtuous beauty, then she was one the fairest under sun. For poorly fostered up was she, no likerous lust was in her heart y run. Well ofter of the well than of the tun she drank, and for she would virtue please, she knew well labour, but no idle ease. But though this maiden tender were of age, yet in the breast of her virginity there was enclosed a sad and ripe courage, and in great reverence and charity her poor old father fostered she. A few sheep spinning on the field she kept, she would not be idle till she slept. And when she homeward came, she would bring wortes and other herbs times oft, the which she shred and seeth'd for her living, and made her bed full hard and nothing soft. And aye she kept her father's life on loft, with every obeisance and diligence that child may do to father's reverence. Upon Griselda, this poor creature, full often sides this Marquis set his eye, and he on hunting rode peradventure, and when it fell that he might her espy, he not with wanton looking of folly his eyen cast on her, but in sad wise upon her cheer he would him oft advise. Commending in his heart her womanhead, and eke her virtue passing any wight of so young age, as well in cheer as deed. For though the people have no great insight in virtue, he considered full right her bounty, and disposed that he would wed only her, if wed ever he should. The day of wedding came, but no wight can tell what woman that it shoulde be. For such marvail wondered many a man, and said, when they were in privity, will not our Lord yet leave his vanity? Will he not wed? Alas, alas the while! Why will he thus himself and us beguile? But natheless this Marquis had done make of gemmes set in gold and in azure, brooches and rings for Griselda's sake, and of her clothing he took the measure of a maiden like unto her stature, and eke of other ornaments all, that unto such a wedding shoulde fall. The time of undern of the same day approached that this wedding shoulde be, and all the palace was put in array, both hall and chamber each in its degree, houses of office stuffed with plenty, that mayest thou see of daintiest vitale that may be found, as far as lasts Itale. This royal Marquis, richly arrayed, lordes and ladies in his company, the which unto the feast were prayed, and of his retinue the bachelory, with many a sound of sundry melody, unto the village of the which I told, in this array the right way did they hold. Griseld of this, God wot, full innocent, that for her shapen was all this array, to fetche water at a well is went, and home she came as soon as e'er she may, for well she heard say that on that day the Marquis should wed, and if she might, she fain would have seen somewhat of that sight. She thought, I will with other maidens stand, that be my fellows in our door, and see this marchioness, and therefore I will fand to do at home, as soon as it may be, the labour which belongeth to me, and then I may at leisure her behold, if she this way unto the castle hold. And as she would over the threshold gone, the Marquis came and gan for her to call, and she set down her water pot anon beside the threshold in an ox's stall, and down upon her knees she gan to fall, and with sad countenance kneeled still, till she had heard what was the Lorde's will. The thoughtful Marquis spake unto the maid full soberly, and said in this mannere, "Where is your father, Griseldis?" he said. And she, with reverence, in humble cheer, answered, "Lord, he is already here." And in this she went without longer let, and to the Marquis she her father fet. He by his hand then took the poore man, and said thus, when he him had aside, "Janicola, I neither may nor can longer the pleasance of mine hearte hide. If thou vouchsafe whatso betide, thy daughter will I take, ere that I wend, as for my wife, unto her life's end. Thou lovest me, that know I well certain, and art my faithful liegeman y bore, and all that liketh me I dare well sayn it liketh thee, and specially therefore tell me that point that I have said before, if that thou wilt unto this purpose draw, to take me for thy son-in-law." This sudden case the man astonished so, that red he waxed, abashed, and all quaking. He stood uneaths, and said he wordes mo, but only thus: "Lord," quoth he, "my willing is as ye will, nor against your liking I will do no thing, mine owen lord so dear, right as you list govern this mattere." "Then will I," quoth the Marquis softly, "that in thy chamber I and thou and she have a collation, and knowest thou why? For I will ask her, if her will it be my wife, and rule her after me, and all this shall be done in thy presence. I will not speak out of thine audience." And in the chamber where they were about the treaty, which ye shall thereafter hear, the people came into the house without, and wondered them in how honest manner and tenderly she kept her father dear. But utterly Griseldis wonder might, for never erst ne saw she such a sight. No wonder is though that she be astoned to see so great a guest come in that place. She never was to no such guestes woned, for which she looked with full pale face. But shortly forth this matter for to chase, these are the wordes that her marquis said to this benigne very faithful maid. Griseld, he said, ye shall well understand, it liketh to your father and to me that I you wed. And eke it may so stand, as I suppose ye will that it so be. But these demands ask I first, quoth he, since that it shall be done in hasty wise. Will ye assent, or elles you advise? I say this, be ye ready with good heart to all my lust, and that I freely may, as me best thinketh, do you laugh or smart, and never ye to grudge night or day, and eke when I say yea, you may not nay, neither by word nor frowning countenance. Swear this, and here I swear our alliance. Wondering upon this word, quaking for dread, she said, Lord, indigne and unworthy am I to this honour that ye me bed. But as ye will yourself, right so will I. And here I swear, that never unwillingly in word or thought I will you disobey, for to be dead, though me were loath today. This is enough, Griselde mine, quoth he, and forth he went with a full sober cheer out of the door, and after then came she, and to the people he said in this manner, This is my wife, quoth he, that standeth here. Honour her and love her, I you pray. Whoso me loves, there is no more to say. And for that nothing of her olde gear she should bring into his house, he bade that women should despoil her right there, of which these ladies were nothing glad to hand her clothes wherein she was clad. But natheless this maiden bright of hue, from foot to head they clothed have all new. Her haires have they combed that lay untressed full rudely, and with their fingers small a crown upon her head they have dressed, and set her full of notches great and small. Of her array why should I make a tale? Unneth the people her knew for her fairness, when she transmuted was in such richness. The marquis had her spoused with a ring, brought for the same cause, and then her set upon a horse snow white, and well ambling, and to his palace ere he longer let, with joyful people that her led and met conveyed her, and thus the day they spend in revel till the sunne gan descend. And shortly forth this tale for to chase, I say that to this new marchioness God hath such favour sent her of his grace, that it ne seemed not by likeliness that she was born and fed in rudeness, and in a cot or in an ox's stall, but nourished in an emperor's hall. To every wight she waxen is so dear and worshipful, that folk where she was born, that from her birthe knew her year by year, unnethes strode. But they in durst have sworn that to Janicol, of whom I spake before, she was not daughter, for by conjecture them thought she was another creature. For though that ever virtuous was she was increased in such excellence of thewes good, y set in high bounty, and so discreet and fair of eloquence, so benign and so digne of reverence, and could so the people's heart embrace, that each her loved that looked upon her face. Not only of Saluces in the town published was the bounty of her name, but eke besides in many a region, if one well said, another said the same. So spread of here high bounty the fame, that men and women, young as well as old, went to Saluces her for to behold. Thus Walter lowly, nay but royally, wedded with fortunate Hodenstedt, in Godde's peace lived full easily, at home, and outward grace enough had he, and for he saw that now under low degree was honest virtue held, the people him held a prudent man, and that is seen full seld. Not only this Griseldis through her wit couth all the feat of wifely homeliness, but eke when that case required it, the common profit could she redress. There n'as discord, rancour, or heaviness in all the land that she could not appease, and wisely bring them all in rest and ease. Though that her husband absent were or none, if gentlemen or other of that country were wroth, she would bringe them at once, so wise and ripe wordes had she, and judgment of so great equity, that she from heaven sent was, as men wend, people to save, and every wrong to mend. Not longe time after that this Griseld was wedded, she a daughter had y bore. All she had lever born a knave child. Glad was the Marquis and his folk therefore. For though a maiden child came all before, she may unto a knave child attain, but likelihood, since she is not barren. Pars tertia. There fell, as falleth many times mo', when that his child had sucked but a throw, this Marquis in his heart longed so to tempt his wife, her sadness for to know, that he may not out of his hearte throw this marvellous desire his wife to say. Needless, God wot, he thought her to affray. He had assayed her enough before, and found her ever good, that needed it her for to tempt, and always more and more, though some men praise it for a subtle wit. But as for me, I say that evil it sit, to say a wife when that it is no need, and putte her in anguish and in dread. For which this Marquis wot in this mannere, he came at night alone, where as she lay with sterne face, and with full troubled cheer, and said thus: "Griseld," quoth he, "that day that I took you out of your poor array, and put you in a state of high noblesse, ye have not forgotten, as I guess. I say, Griseld, this present dignity in which that I have put you, as I trow, maketh you not forgetful for to be that I took you in poor estate full low. For any while you must yourselfe know take heed of every word that I you say. There is no wight that hears it but we tway. Ye know yourself well how that ye came here into this house. It is not long ago. And though to me ye may be right lefe and dear, unto my gentles ye be nothing so. They say to them it is a great shame and woe for to be subject and be in serviage to thee, that art born of small lineage. And namely, since thy daughter was y bore, these wordes have they spoken doubteless, but I desire, as I have done before, to live my life with them in rest and peace. I may not in this case be reckless. I must do with thy daughter for the best, not as I would, but as my gentles lest. And yet, God wot, this is full loath to me, but natheless, without your weeting, I will not do. But this will I," quoth he, "that ye to me assenten in this thing, shew now your pestilence in your working, that ye me hight and swore in your village, the day that maked was our marriage." When she heard all this, she not amoved, neither in word, nor cheer, nor countenance. For, as it seemed, she was not aggrieved. She said, "Lord, all lies in your pleasance. My child and I with hearty obeisance be yours all, and ye may save or spill your owen thing. Work then after your will. There may no thing, so God my soule save, like to you, that may displease me. Nor I desire nothing for to have, nor dread for to lose, save only ye. This will is in mine heart, and I shall be no length of time, nor death may this deface, nor change my courage to another place." Glad was the marquis for her answering, but yet he feigned as he were not so. All dreary was his cheer and his looking, when that he should out of the chamber go. Soon after this, a furlong way or two, he privily hath told all his intent unto a man, and to his wife him sent. A manor sergeant was this private man, the which he faithful often founden had in thinges great, and eke such folk well can do execution in things bad. The lord knew well that he him loved and drad, and when this sergeant knew his lorde's will, into the chambers stalked he fulle still. "Madam," he said, "ye must forgive it me, though I do thing to which I am constrained. Ye be so wise that right well know ye that lordes' hest may not be feigned. They may well be wailed and complained, but men must needs unto their lust obey, and so will I. There is no more to say. This child I am commanded for to take," and spake no more, but out the child he hent dispiteously, and gan a cheer to make, as though he would have slain it ere he went. Griseldis must all suffer and consent, and as a lamb she sat there meek and still, and let this cruel sergeant do his will. Suspicious was the defame of this man, suspect his face, suspect his word also, suspect the time in which he and this began. Alas, her daughter that she loved so, she weened he would have it slain right tho', but natheless she neither wept nor siked, conforming her to what the marquis liked. But at the last to speake she began, and meekly she unto the sergeant prayed, so as he was a worthy gentleman, that she might kiss her child ere that it died. And in her barm this little child she laid with full sad face, and gan the child to bless, and lulled it, and after gan to kiss. And thus she said in her benigne voice, "Farewell, my child, I shall thee never see. But since I have thee marked with the cross Of that father, y blessed may'st thou be, That for us died upon a cross of tree. Thy soul, my little child, I him betake, For this night shall thy din for my sake. I trow that to a Norris in this case it had been hard this Ruthie for to see. Well might a mother then have cried, alas! But natheless so sad steadfast was she, that she endured all adversity, and to the sergeant meekly she said, "Have here again your little younge maid. Go now," quoth he, "and do my lord's behest. And one thing would I pray you of your grace, but if my lord forbade you at the least, bury this little body in some place that neither beasts nor birds it erace." But he no word would to that purpose say, but took the child and went upon his way. The sergeant came unto his lord again, and of Griselda's words and of her cheer he told him point for point in short and plain, and him presented with his daughter dear. Somewhat this lord had ruth in his mannere, but natheless his purpose held he still, as lordes do, when they will have their will. And bade this sergeant that he privily should the child full softly wind and wrap with all circumstances tenderly, and carry it in a coffer or in lap, but upon pain his head off for to swap, that no man should know of his intent, nor whence he came, nor whither that he went. But at Bologna to his sister dear, that at that time of panic was countess, he should it take, and shew her this matter, beseeching her to do her business, this child to foster in all gentleness, and whose child it was he bade her hide from every wight, for aught that might betide. The sergeant went, and hath fulfilled this thing, but to the marquis now returned we, for now he went full fast imagining, as if by his wife's cheer he might see, or by her words apperceive, that she were changed, but he never could her find, but ever in one alike sad and kind, as glad, as humble, as busy in service, and eke in love, as she was wont to be, was she to him in every manner wise. And of her daughter not a word spake she, no accident, for no adversity was seen in her, nor e'er her daughter's name she named, or in earnest or in game. Pars quarta. In this estate there passed be 4 year, ere she with child was, as God who'd a knave child she bare by this Walter, full gracious and fair for to behold. And when that folk it to its father told, not only he, but all his country merry were for this child, and God they thank and harry. When it was 2 year old, and from the breast departed of the Norris, on a day this marquis caught yet another, lest to tempt his wife yet further, if she may. Oh, needless was she tempted, in as say, but wedded men not connen no mesure, when that they find a patient creature. "Wife," quoth the marquis, "ye have heard ere this, my people sickly bear our marriage, and namely, since my son y born is, now is it worse than ever in all our age. The murmur slays mine heart and my courage, for to mine ears cometh the voice so smart, that it well nigh destroyed hath mine heart. Now say they thus, when Walter is y gone, then shall the blood of Janicol succeed, and be our lord, for other have we none. Such wordes say my people out of dread. Well ought I of such murmur take heed, for certainly I dread all such sentence, though they not plainen in my audience. I would live in peace, if that I might, wherefore I am disposed utterly, and I his sister served ere by night. Right so think I to serve him privily. This I warn you, that ye not suddenly out of yourself, for no woe should outray. Be patient, and thereof I you pray. I have, quoth she, said thus, and ever shall. I will no thing, nor nil no thing certain, but as you list, not grieveth me at all, though that my daughter and my son be slain at your commandment, that is so sayn. I have not had no part of children twain, but first sickness, and after woe and pain. Ye be my lord, do with your owen thing, right as you list, and ask no rede of me. For as I left at home all my clothing, when I came first to you, right so, quoth she, left I my will and all my liberty, and took your clothing, whereof I you pray, do your pleasance, I will your lust obey. And certes, if I had a prescience your will to know, ere ye your lust me told, I would it do withoute negligence. But now I know your lust, and what ye wold. All your pleasance firm and stable I hold. For wist I that my death might do you ease, right gladly would I dien you to please. Death may make no comparison unto our love. And when this marquis say the constance of his wife, he cast adown his eyen too, and wondered how she may in patience suffer all this array. And forth he went with dreary countenance, but to his heart it was full great pleasance. This ugly sergeant, in the same wise that to her daughter caught, right so hath he, or worse, if men can any worse devise, he hent her son, that full was of beauty, and ever in one so patient was she, that she no cheere made of heaviness, but kissed her son, and after gan him bless. Save this she prayed him, if that he might, her little son he would in earthe grave, his tender limbs delicate to sight, from fowls and from beasts for to save. But she none answer of him might have. He went his way, as him nothing ne naught, but to Bologna tenderly it brought. The marquis wondered ever longer more upon her patience, and if that he not hadde soothly knowen therebefore that perfectly her children loved she, he would have weened that of some subtlety and of malice, or for cruel courage, she had suffered this with sad visage. But well he knew that next to himself certain she loved her children best in every wise. But now of women would I ask fain, if these assays might not suffice, what could a sturdy husband more devise to prove her wifehood and her steadfastness, and he continuing ever in sturdiness? But there be folk of such condition, that when they have a certain purpose take, they cannot stint of their intention, but right as they were bounden to a stake, that they will not of their firste purpose slake. Right so this marquis fully hath proposed to tempt his wife, as he was first disposed. He waited if by word or countenance that she to him was changed and of courage, but never could he find variance. She was aye one in heart and in visage, and aye the farther that she was in age, the more true, if that were possible, she was to him in love, and more penible. For which it deemed thus, that of them two there was but one will, for, as Walter lest, the same pleasance was her lust also, and, God be thanked, all fell for the best. She shewed well for no unworldly unrest, a wife as of herself no thinge should, will in effect, but as her husband would. The slander of Walter wondrous wide spread, that of a cruel heart he wickedly, for he a poore woman wedded had murdered both his children privily. Such murmur was among them commonly, no wonder is, for to the people's ear there came no word, but that they murdered were. For which, whereas his people therebefore had loved him well, the slander of his defame made them that they him hated therefore. To be a murderer is a hateful name. But natheless, for earnest or for game, he of his cruel purpose would not stent to tempt his wife all his intent. When that his daughter 12 year was of age, he to the court of Rome in supple wise informed of his will, set his message, commanding him such bulles to devise, as to his cruel purpose may suffice, how that the Pope, for his people's rest, bade him to wed another, if him lest. I say he bade they should counterfeit the Pope's bulls, making intention that he had leave his first wife too late, to stinte rancour and dissension betwixt his people and him. Thus spake the bull, the which they have published at full. The rude people, as no wonder is, weened full well that it had been right so. But when these tidings came to Griseldis, I deem that her heart was full of woe. But she, alike sad for evermo', disposed was, this humble creature, th'adversity of fortune all t'endure. Abiding ever his lust and his pleasance, to whom that she was given heart and all, as to her very worldly suffisance. But shortly, if this story tell I shall, the marquis written hath in special a letter, in which he shewed his intent, and secretly it to Bologna sent. To the Earl of Panico, which hadde though wedded his sister, prayed he specially to bringe home again his children two, in honourable estate all openly. But one thing he him prayed utterly, that he to no wight, though men should inquire, should not tell whose children that they were. But say the maiden should y wedded be unto the Marquis of Salusanon. And as this earl was prayed, so did he. But at day set, he on his way is gone toward Salus, and lordes many a one in rich array, this maiden for to guide, her younger brother riding her beside. Arrayed was toward her marriage this freshe maiden, full of gemmes clear. Her brother, which that 7 year was of age, arrayed eke full fresh in his mannere, and thus in great noblesse, with glad cheer, toward Saluces shaping their journey, from day to day they rode, upon their way. Pars Quinta. Among all this, after his wick usage, the marquis yet his wife to tempte more, to the uttermost proof of her courage, fully to have experience and lore, if that she were as steadfast as before, he on a day in open audience full boisterously said her this sentence: "Certes, Griseld, I had enough pleasance to have you to my wife, for your goodness, and for your truth, and for your obeisance, not for your lineage, nor for your richness. But now know I in very soothfastness that in great lordship, if I well advise, there is great servitude in sundry wise. I may not do as every ploughman may, my people me constraineth for to take another wife, and crieth day by day, and eke the Pope, a rancour for to slake, consenteth it. That dare I undertake, and truly thus much I will you say: my newe wife is coming by the way. Be strong of heart, and voide anon her place, and thilike dower that ye brought to me, take it again, I grant it of my grace. Returne to your father's house," quoth he. "No man may always have prosperity. With even heart I rede you to endure the stroke of fortune or of adventure." And she again answered in patience: "My lord," quoth she, "I know and knew alway how that betwixt your magnificence and my povert' no wight nor can nor may make comparison. It is no nay. I held me never digne in no mannere to be your wife, nor yet your chamberer. And in this house where ye me lady make, the highe God take I for my witness, and all so wisely he my soule glade, I never held me lady nor mistress, but humble servant to your worthiness, and ever shall, while that my life may dure, abroven every worldly creature. That ye so long of your benignity have holden me in honour and nobly, where as I was not worthy for to be, that thank I God and you, to whom I pray. For yield it you, there is no more to say. Unto my father gladly I will wend, and with him dwell unto my life's end. Where I was foster'd as a child full small, till I be dead, my life there shall I lead, a widow clean in body, heart, and all. For since I gave to you my maidenhead, and am your true wife, it is no dread, God shield such a lord as wife to take, another man to husband or to make. And of your newe wife, God of his grace so grant you weal and all prosperity, for I will gladly yield to her my place, in which that I was blissful wont to be. For since it liketh you, my lord," quoth she, "that while some weren all mine hearte's rest, that I shall go, I will go when you lest. But whereas ye me proffer such dower as I first brought, it is well in my mind it was my wretched clothes, nothing fair, to which to me were hard now for to find. O gentle God, how gentle and how kind you seemeth by your speech and by your visage, the day that maked was our marriage. But sooth is said, algate I find it true, for in effect it proved is on me. Love is not old as when that it is new, but certes, Lord, for no adversity to dien in this case, I shall not be, that ere in word or work I shall repent that I gave you my heart in whole intent. My lord, ye know that in my father's place ye did me strip out of my poore weed, and richly ye clad me of your grace. To you brought I nought else out of dread, but faith and nakedness and maidenhead. And here again your clothing I restore, and eke your wedding ring for evermore. The remnant of your jewels ready be within your chamber, I dare safely sayn. Naked out of my father's house, quoth she, I came, and naked I must turn again. All your pleasance would I follow fain, but yet I hope it not be your intent that smockless I out of your palace went. Ye could not do so dishonest a thing, that thilike womb in which your children lay should before the people be in my walking be seen all bare, and therefore I you pray, let me not like a worm go by the way. Remember you, mine owen lord so dear, I was your wife, though I unworthy were. Wherefore in guerdon of my maidenhead, which that I brought and not again I bear, as vouchsafe to give me to my meed, but such a smock as I was wont to wear, and I therewith may wee the womb of her that was your wife. And here I take my leave of you, mine owen lord, lest I you grieve. The smock, quoth he, that thou hast on thy back, let it be still, and bear it forth with thee. But well unless thilke word he spake, but went his way for ruth and for pity. Before the folk herself stripped she, and in her smock, with foot and head all bare, toward her father's house forth as she fare. The folk her followed weeping on her way, and fortune aye they cursed as they gon, but she from weeping kept her eyen dray, nor in this time word spake she none. Her father, that this tiding heard anon, cursed the day and time that nature shope to him be a living creature. For out of doubt this old poor man was ever in suspect of her marriage, for ever deemed he, since it first began, that when the Lord fulfilled had his courage, he would think it were a disparage to his estate so low for to alight, and void her as soon as e'er he might. Against his daughter hastily went he, for he by noise of folk knew her coming, and with her olde coat, as it might be, he covered her, full sorrowfully weeping. But on her body might he it not bring, for rude was the cloth, and more of age by days fele, than at her marriage. Thus with her father for a certain space dwelled this flower of wifely patience, that neither by her words nor by her face before the folk, nor eke in their absence, ne shewed she was done offence, nor of her high estate no remembrance, ne hadde she as by her countenance. No wonder is, for in her great estate her ghost was ever in plain humility, no tender mouth, no heart delicate, no pomp, and no semblant of royalty, but full of patient benignity, discreet and prideless, aye honourable, and to her husband ever meek and stable. Men speak of Job, and most for his humbleness, as clerks, when them list, can well indite, namely of men, but as in soothfastness. Though clerks praise women but delight, there can no man in humbleness him acquite as women can, nor can be half so true as women be, but it be fall of new. Pars Sexta. From Boulogne is the Earl of Panic come, of which the fame upsprang to more and less, and to the people's ears all and some was known, eke that a newe marchioness he with him brought, in such pomp and richess, that never was there seen with manne's eye so noble array in all West Lombardy. The Marquis, which that shope and knew all this, ere that the Earl had come, sent his message for thilike poor silly Griseldis, and she, with humble heart and glad visage, nor with no swelling thought in her courage, came at his hest, and on her knees her set, and reverently and wisely she him gret. "Griseld," quoth he, "my will is utterly, this maiden that shall wedded be to me receive be to-morrow as royally as it is possible is my house to be. And eke that every wight in his degree have his estate in sitting and service, and in high pleasance, as I can devise. I have no women sufficient certain, this chambers to array in ordinance after my lust, and therefore would I fain that thine were all such manner governance. Thou knowest eke of all my pleasance. Though thine array be bad and ill besay, do thou thy devoir at the leaste way." "Not only, lord, that I am glad," quoth she, "to do your lust, but I desire also you for to serve and please in my degree, without fainting, and shall ever mo, nor ever for no weal, nor for no woe, shall be the ghost within mine hearte stent, to love you best with all my true intent." And with that word she gan the house to dight, and tables for to set, and beds to make, and pained her to do all that she might, praying the chamberers for Godde's sake to hasten them, and faste sweep and shake, that she, the most serviceable of all, hath every chamber arrayed, and in this hall. About underne gan the Earl alight, that with him brought these noble children tway, for which the people ran to see the sight of their array so richely base. And then at erst amonges them they say, that Walter was no fool, though that him least to change his wife, for it was for the best. For she is fairer, they deemen all, than is Griseld, and more tender of age, and fairer fruit between them shoulde fall, and more pleasant for her high lineage. Her brother eke so fair was of visage, that them to see the people hath aught pleasance, commending how the Marquis governance. O stormy people unsad, and ever true, and undiscreet, and changing as a vane, delighting ever in rumour that is new, for like the moon so wax ye and wane. Aye, full of clapping, dear enough a Jane, your doom is false, your constance evil preveth, a great fool is he that you believeth. Thus said the sad folk in that city, when that the people gazed up and down, for they were glad, right for the novelty, to have a newe lady in their town. No more of this now make I mention, but to Griseld again I will me dress, and tell her constancy and her business. Full busy was Griseld in every thing that to the feast she was appurtenant. Right nought was she abashed of her clothing, though it was rude, and somedeal eke to rent. But with glad cheer unto the gate she went, with other folk to greet the marchioness, and after that did forth her business. With so glad cheer his guestes she received, and so cunningly, each in his degree, that no default no man aperceived, but aye they wondered what she mighte be, that in so poor array was for to see, and could such honour and reverence, and worthily they praise her prudence. In all this means, while she not stent this maid, and eke her brother to commend with all her heart, in full benign intent, so well that no man could her praise amend. But at the last, when that these lordes wend to sitte down to meat, he gan to call Griseld, as she was busy in the hall. "Griseld," quoth he, as it were in his play, "how liketh thee my wife and her beauty?" "Right well, my lord," quoth she, "for in good fay a fairer saw I never done than she. I pray to God give you prosperity, and so I hope that he will you to send pleasance enough unto your live's end. One thing I beseech you and warn also, that ye not prick with no tormenting this tender maiden as you have done mo, for she is fostered in her nourishing more tenderly, and to my supposing she might not adversity endure, as could a poor fostered creature." And when this Walter saw her patience, her glade cheer, and no malice at all, and he so often had her done offence, and she aye sad and constant as a wall, continuing ever her innocence o'er all, the sturdy Marquis gan her heart address to rue upon her wifely steadfastness. "This is enough, Griselde mine," quoth he. "Be now no more aghast nor evil paid. I have thy faith and thy benignity, as well as ever woman's was assayed, in great estate and poorly arrayed. Now know I, dear wife, thy steadfastness." And her in arms he took, and gan to kiss. And she, for wonder of it, took no keep. She hearde not what thing he to her said. She fared as she had start out of a sleep, till she was out of her mazedness abraid. "Griseld," quoth he, "by God that for us died, thou art my wife. None other I have, nor ever had, as God my soule save. This is thy daughter, which thou hast supposed to be my wife. Other faithfully shall be mine heir, as I have aye disposed. Thou bare them of thy body truly. At Bologna kept I them privily. Take them again, for now mayest not thou say that thou hast lorn none of thy children tway. And folk that otherwise have said of me, I warn them well that I have done this deed for no malice, nor for no cruelty, but to assay in thee thy womanhead, and not to slay my children, God forbid, but for to keep them privily and still, till I thy purpose knew, and all thy will. When she this heard, in swoon down she falleth for piteous joy, and after her swooning she both her younge children to her calleth, and in her armes piteously weeping embraced them, and tenderly kissing, full like a mother, with her salte tears she bathed both their visage and their hairs. Oh, what a piteous thing it was to see her swooning, and her humble voice to hear. "Grand mercy, Lord God, thank it you," quoth she, "that ye have saved me my children dear. Now reck I never to be dead right here, since I stand in your love and in your grace, no force of death, nor when my spirit pace. O tender, O dear, O younge children mine, your woeful mother weened steadfastly that cruel hounds or some foul vermain had eaten you. But God of his mercy and your benigne Father tenderly hath done you keep, and in that same stound all suddenly she swapped down to the ground. And in her swoon so sadly holdeth she her children too, that when she gan them embrace, that with great sleight and great difficulty the children from her arm they can erase. Oh, many a tear on many a piteous face down ran of them that stoode her beside, unneth about her might they betide. Walter her gladdeth and her sorrow slaketh, she riseth up abashed from her trance, and every wight her joy and feaste maketh, till she hath caught again her countenance. Walter her doth so faithfully pleasance, that it was dainty for to see the cheer betwixt them two, since they be met in fear. The ladies, when they their time say, have taken her into chamber gone, and stripped her out of her rude array, and in a cloth of gold that brightly shone, and with a crown of many a riche stone upon her head, they into hall her brought, and there she was honoured as her ought. Thus had this piteous day a blissful end, for every man and woman did his might this day in mirth and revel to dispend, till on the welkin shone and starres bright. For more solemn in every manne's sight this feaste was, and greater of costage than was the revel of her marriage. Full many a year in high prosperity lived these two in concord and in rest, and richly his daughter married he unto a lord, one of the worthiest of all Italy, and then in peace and rest his wife's father in his court he kept, till that the soul out of his body crept. His son succeeded in his heritage, in rest and peace after his father's day, and fortunate was eke in marriage. All he put not his wife in great assay. This world is not so strong, it is no nay, as it hath been in olden times yore. And hearken what this author saith therefore. This story is said, not for that wives should follow Griselda in humility, for it were importable though they would, but for that every wight in his degree should be constant in adversity, as was Griselda. Therefore Petrarch writeth this story, which with high style he inditeth. For since a woman was so patient unto a mortal man, well more we ought receiven all in gree that God has sent. For great skill is he proved that he wrought, but he tempteth no man that he hath bought. As saith Saint James, if ye his pistol read, he proveth folk all day, it is no dread. and suffereth us for our exercise, with sharpe scourges of adversity, full often to be beat in sundry wise, not for to know our will, for certes be, ere we were born, knew all our frailty. And for our best is all his governance. Let us then live in virtuous sufferance. But one word, lordlings, hearken ere I go. It were full hard to finde nowadays in all a town Griseldas three or two; for, if there were to put to such assayes, the gold of them hath now so bad allays with brass, that, though the coin be fair at eye, it would rather break in two than ply. For which here, for the wife's love of Bath, whose life and all her sex may God maintain in high mastery, and elles were it scath, I will, with lusty heart fresh and green, say you a song to gladden you, I ween, and let us stint of earnestful mattere. Hearken my song, that saith in this mannere. L'Envoi of Chaucer. Griseld is dead, and eke her patience, and both at once are buried in a tale, for which I cry in open audience, no wedded man so hardly be to sail his wife's patience, in trust to find Griselda's, for in certain he shall fail. O noble wives, full of high prudence, let no humility your tongues nail, nor let no clerk have cause or diligence to write of you a story of such marvail as of Griselda, patient and kind, lest she chivash you swallow in her entrail. Follow echo that holdeth no silence, but ever answereth at the counter tale. Be not bedaft of your innocence, but sharply take on you this governale. Imprint well this lesson in your mind, for common profit, since it may avail. Ye archewives, stand aye at defence, since ye be as strong as is a great camele, nor suffer not that men do you offence. And slender wives, feeble in battail, be eager as a tiger yon in Ind, aye clapping as a mill, I you consail. Nor dread him not, nor do him reverence, for though thine husband armed be in mail, these arrows of thy crabbed eloquence shall pierce his breast, and eke his eventail. In jealousy, I read, eke thou him bind, and thou shalt make him couch as does a quail. If thou be fair, where folk be in presence, shew thou thy visage and thine apparel. If thou be foul, be free of thy dispense, to get thee friends, aye do thy travail. Be aye of cheer, as light as leaf on lind, and let him care, and weep, and ring, and wail. So ends The Clerk's Tale by Geoffrey Chaucer.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Cynthia Lyons, Naperville, Illinois. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, edited by D. Laing Purves. This reading is based on the book The Canterbury Tales and Other Poems. The original text contains poems by Chaucer and lots of notes and explanations by the editor. To view these, please click on the Gutenberg e-text link on the LibriVox catalog page of the Canterbury Tales. The Merchant's Tale. Prologue. Weeping and wailing, care and other sorrow, I have enough on even and on morrow, quoth the merchant, and so have other more, that wedded be. I true that it be so, for well I wot it fareth so by me. I have a wife, the worste that may be, for though the fiend to her I coupled were, she would him overmatch, I dare well swear. Why should I rehearse in special her high malice? She is a shrew at all. There is a long and large difference betwixt Griselda's greate patience and of my wife the passing cruelty. Were I bounden, also may I thee. I would never eft come in the snare. We wedded men live in sorrow and care. Say it whoso will, and he shall find that I say sooth by Saint Thomas of Ind. As for the more part, I say not all. God shielde that it should so befall. Ah, good Sir Host, I have I wedded be these moneths two, and more not pardie, and yet I true that he that all his life wifeless hath been, though that man would him reave into the heart, could in no manner tell so much sorrow as I you here could tellen of my wife's cursedness. Now, quoth our host, merchant, so God you bless, since ye so much knowen of that art, full heartily I pray you tell us part. Gladly, quoth he, but of mine own sorrow, for sorry heart, I tell me no more. The Tale. Whilom there was dwelling in Lombardy a worthy knight that was born at Pavie, in which he lived in great prosperity, and 40 years a wifeless man was he, and followed I his bodily delight on women, whereas was his appetite, as do these fools that be seculars. And when that he was passed 60 years, were it for holiness or for dotage, I cannot say, but such a great courage hadde this knight to be a wedded man, that day and night he did all that he can to espy where that he might wedded be, praying our Lord to grant him that he might once knowen of that blissful life that is betwixt a husband and his wife, and for to live under that holy bond with which God first a man and woman bond. None other life, said he, is worth a bean, for wedlock is so easy and so clean, that in this world it is a paradise. Thus said this olde knight that was so wise, and certainly as sooth as God is king, to take a wife it is a glorious thing, and namely when a man is old and hoar, then is a wife the fruit of his tresor. Then should he take a younge wife and fair, on which he might engender him an heir, and lead his life in joy and in solace, whereas these bachelors singen alas, when they that find any adversity in love, which is but childish vanity. And truly it sits well to be so, that bachelors have often pain and woe. On brittle ground they build, and brittleness they find when they ween sickerness. They live but as a bird or as a beast, in liberty and under no arrest. Whereas a wedded man in his estate liveth a life blissful and ordinate, under the yoke of marriage y bound. Well may his heart in joy and bliss abound. For who can be so buxom as a wife, who is so true and eke so attentive, to keep him sick and whole, as is his make? For weal or woe she will him not forsake. She is not weary him to love and serve, though that he lie bedrid until he sterve. And yet some clerks say it is not so, of which he, Theophrast, is one of tho. What force, though Theophrast lists for to lie? Take no wife, quoth he, for husbandry, as for to spare in household thy dispence, a true servant more diligence. Thy good to keep than doth thine owen wife, for she will claim a half part all her life. And if that thou be sick, so God me save, thy very friend is, or a true knave, will keep thee bet than she that waiteth aye after thy good, and hath done many a die. This sentence, and 100 times worse, writeth this man, there God his bonus curse. But take no keep of all such vanity, defy Theophrast, and hearken to me. A wife is God's gift verily, all other manner gifts hardily, as hands, rents, pasture, or commune, or meubles, all be gifts of fortune, that passen as a shadow on the wall. But dread thou not, if plainly speak I shall. A wife will last, and in thine house endure, well longer than thee list paraventure. Marriage is a full great sacrament. He which that hath no wife, I hold him shent. He liveth helpless and all desolate. I speak of folk in secular estate. And hearken why I say not this for naught, that woman is for man's help y wrought. The highe God, when he had Adam maked, and saw him all alone belly naked, God of his great goodness saide then, let us now make help unto this man, like to himself, and then he made him Eve. Here may you see, and hereby may ye prave, that a wife is man's help and his comfort, his paradise terrestre and his disport. So buxom and so virtuous is she, they must needs live in unity. One flesh they be, and one blood, as I guess, with but one heart in weal and in distress. A wife! Ah, Saint Mary Benedicte! How might a man have any adversity that hath a wife? Certes, he cannot say the bliss the which that is betwixt them tway. There may no tongue it tell, or heart to think, if he be poor, she helpeth him to swink. She keeps his good, and wasteth never a deal. All that her husband list, her liketh well. She saith not once nay, when he saith yea. Do this, saith he, already, sir, saith she. O blissful order, wedding precious, thou art so merry and eke so virtuous, and so commended and approved eke, that every man that holds him worth a lake, upon his bare knees ought all his life to thank his God that him hath sent a wife, or else pray to God for him to send a wife to last unto his life's end. For then his life is set in sickerness, he may not be deceived, as I guess, so that he work after his wife's rede, then may he boldly bear up his head. They be so true, and therewithal so wise, for which if thou wilt worken as the wise, do always so as women will thee rede. Lo, how that Jacob, as this Clerk is read, be good counsel of his mother Rebek, bound o' the kid skin about his neck, for which his father's benison he won. Lo, Judith, as the story telle can, by good counsel she Godde's people kept, and slew him Holofernes while he slept. Lo, Abigail, by good counsel, how she saved her husband Nabal, when that he should have been slain. And lo, Esther also, the by counsel good delivered out of woe the people of God, and made him Mordecai of Ahasuer unhanced for to be. There is nothing in grace superlative, as saith Seneca, above a humble wife. Suffer the wife's tongue, as Cato bit, she shall command, and thou shalt suffer it. And yet she will obey out of courtesy. A wife is keeper of thine husbandry. Well may the sicke man bewail and weep, there is no wife the house to keep. I warne thee, if wisely thou wilt worch, love well thy wife, as Christ loveth his church. Thou lovest thyself, if thou lovest thy wife. No man hateth his flesh, but in his life he fostereth it, and therefore bid I thee, cherish thy wife, or thou shalt never thee. Husband and wife, whatso men jape or play, of worldly folk hold the sicker way. They be so knit there may no harm betide, and namely upon the wife's seed. For which this January, of whom I told, considered hath, within his dayes old, the lusty life, the virtuous quiet, that is in marriage honey sweet. And for his friends upon a day he sent to tell them the effect of his intent. With face sad his tale he hath them told. He said, "Friends, I am hoar and old, and almost, God wot, on my piteous brink. Upon my soul somewhat must I think. I have my body foolishly dispended. Blessed be God that it shall be amended, for I will be certain a wedded man, and that anon in all the haste I can. Unto some maiden fair and tender of age I pray you shape for me marriage all suddenly, for I will not abide, and I will fain to espy on my seed, to whom I may be wedded hastily. But forasmuch as ye be more than ye shall rather such a thing espy than I, and where my best were to ally. But one thing warn I you, my friendes dear, I will none olde wife have in no manere. She shall not pass 16 years certain. Old fish and young flesh would I have fain. Better, quoth he, a pike than a pickerel, and better than old beef is tender veal. I will no woman 30 year of age. It is but bean straw and great forage, and eke these old widows got it wot. They con so much craft on wades boat, so much brook harm when that them lest, that with them should I never live in rest. For sundry schooles make subtle clerks. Woman of many schools half a clerk is, but certainly a younge thing men may gie, right as men may warm wax with handes ply. Wherefore I say you plainly in a clause, I will none old wife have, right for this cause. For if so were, I hadde such mischance, that I in her could have no pleasance, then should I lead me life in avoutree, and go straight to the devil when I die. Nor children should I none upon her getten, yet were me lever houndes had me eaten, than that mine heritage shoulde fall in strange hands. And this I tell you all, I dote not I know the cause why men should wed, and furthermore know I, there speaketh many a man of marriage, that knows no more of it than doth my page. For what causes a man should take a wife, if he may not live a chaste his life? Take him a wife with great devotion, because of lawful procreation of children, to the honor of God above, and not only for paramour or love, and for they should lechery eschew, and yield their debt when that it is due, or for that each of them should help the other in mischief, as a sister shall the brother, and live in chastity full holily. But Ceres, by your leave, that am not I. For God be thanked, I dare make a vaunt. I feel me limbes stark and suffisant to do all that a man belongeth to. I wot myself best what I may do. Though I be hoar, I fair as doth a tree that blossoms ere the fruit I waxen be. The blossomy tree is neither dry nor dead. I feel me now here hoar, but on my head mine heart and all my limbs are as green as laurel through the year is for to seen. And since that ye have heard all mine intent, I pray you to my will ye would assent. Divers man diversely him told of marriage many examples old. Some blamed it, some praised it certain, but at the haste, shortly for to sayn, as all day falleth altercation betwixt friends in disputation, there fell a strife betwixt his brethren twae, of which that one was called Placebo. Justinius soothly called was that other. Placebo said, "O January brother, full little need have ye, my lord so dear, counsel to ask of that is here, but that ye be so full of sapience, that you not liketh for your high prudence to wave from the word of Solomon. This word said he unto us every one, work all a thing by counsel, thus said he, and then shalt thou not repent thee. But though that Solomon spake such a word, mine owen dear brother and my lord, so wisely God my soul bring at rest, I hold your owen counsel, it is the best. For, brother mine, take of me this motif: I have now been a courtman all my life, and God it wot, though I unworthy be, I have standen in full great degree about lords of full high estate. Yet had I ne'er with none of them debate, I never them contraried truly. I know well that my lord can more than I. What that he saith, I hold it firm and stable. I say the same, or else a thing semblable. A full great fool is any counsellor that serveth any lord of high honour, that dare presume, or else thinken it, that his counsel should pass his lorde's wit. Nay, lords, be no fools by me fay. Ye have yourself showed here today so high sentence, so holily and well, that I consent and confirm every deal. Your word is all, and your opinion. Begod, there is no man in all this town, nor in Italy, could better have I said. Christ holds him of this counsel well apide. And truly it is a high courage of any man that stopen is in age, to take a younge wife by my father's kin. Your heart hangeth on a jolly pin. Do now in this mattere right as you lest, for finally I hold it is for the best. Justinus, that I still sat and heard, right in this wise to Placebo answered: "Now, brother mine, be patient, I pray, since ye have said, and hearken what I say. Seneca, among his other wordes wise, saith that a man ought him right well advise, to whom he gives his hand or his chattel. And since I ought advise me right well, to whom I give my good away from me, well more I ought advise me per day, to whom I give my body. For alway I warn you well, it is no child's play to take a wife without advisement. Men must inquire, this is mine assent, where'er she be wise, or sober, or drunkelo, or proud, or any other ways a shrew, a chidester, or a waster of thy good, or rich or poor, or else a man is wood. Albeit so, that is no man finde shall, none in this world that trotteth whole in all, no man nor beast, such as men can devise, but natheless it ought enough suffice with any wife, if so were that she had more good thewes than her vices bad. And all this asketh leisure to inquire. For God it wot, I have wept many a tear full privily since I have had a wife. Praise whoso will a wedded mane's life. Certes, I find in it but cost and care, and observances of all blisses bare. And yet God wot my neighbours about, and namely of women many a rout, say that I have the most steadfast wife, and eke the makest one that beareth life. But I know best where ringeth me my shoe. Ye may for me richt as you like do. Advise you, ye be a man of age, how that ye enter into marriage, and namely with a young wife and a fair, by him that made water, fire, earth, and air. The youngest man that is in all this rout is busy enough to bring it aboot.
To have his wife alone, truste me, ye shall not please her fulle yeares three. This is to say, to do her full pleasance, a wife asketh full many an observance. I pray you that ye be not evil apaid. "Well," quoth this January, "and hast thou said? Straw for thy Seneca and for thy proverbs! I counte not a pannier full of herbs of school terms. Wiser men than thou, as thou hast heard, assented here right now to my purpose. Placebo, what say ye?" "I say it is a cursed man," quoth he, "that letteth matrimony sickerly." And with that word they rise up suddenly, and be assented fully that he should be wedded when him list and where he would. High fantasy and curious business from day to day gan in the soul impress Of January about his marriage. Many a fair shape and many a fair visage there passed through his hearte night by night, as whoso took a mirror polished bright and set it in a common market place, then should he see many a figure pace by his mirror, and in the same wise gan January in his thought devise Of maidens, which that dwelt him beside, he wist not where that he might abide. For if that one had beauty in her face, another stood so in the people's grace. For her sadness and her benignity, that of the people's greatest voice had she. And some were rich and had a bad name, but natheless betwixt earnest and game he at the last appointed him on one, and let all others from his hearte gon, and chose her of his own authority. For love is blind all day, and may not say. And when that he was into bed y brocht, he portrayed in his heart and in his thought her freshe beauty and her age tendre, her middle small, her arms long and slender, her wise governance, her gentleness, her womanly bearing, and her sadness. And when that he on her was condescended, he thought his choice might not be amended. For when that he himself concluded had, he thought each other man's wit so bad, that impossible it were to reply against his choice. This was his fantasy. His friends sent he to, at his instaance, and prayed them to do him that pleasance, that hastily they would unto him come. He would abridge their labour all and some. Needed no more for them to go nor ride. He was appointed where he would abide. Placebo came, and eke his friendes soon, and alder first he bade them all a boon, that none of them no arguments would make against the purpose that he had y take, which purpose was pleasant to God, said he, and very ground of his prosperity. He said there was a maiden in the town, which that of beauty had great renown. All were it so she were of small degree, sufficed him her youth and her beauty, which maid he said he would have to his wife, to lead in ease and holiness his life, and thanked God that he might have her all, that no wight with his bliss parte shall, and prayed them to labour in this need, and shape that he fail not to speed. For then, he said, his spirit was at ease. "Then is," quoth he, "nothing may me displease, save one thing pricketh in my conscience, the which I will rehearse in your presence. I have," quoth he, "heard said full yore ago, there may no man have perfect blisses two, this is to say, on earth and eke in heaven. For though he keep him from the sins seven, and eke from every branch of thilke tree, Yet is there so perfect felicity, and so great ease and lust in mariage, that ever I am aghast, now in mine age, that I shall head now so merry a life, so delicate, without woe or strife, that I shall have mine heaven on earthe here. For since that very heaven is bought so dear with tribulation and great penance, how should I then, living in such pleasance, as alle wedded men do with their wives, come to the bliss where Christ etern on live is? This is my dread, and ye, my brethren tway, asole me this question, I you pray. Justinus, which that hated his folly, answered anon right in his japery. And for he would his long tale abridge, he would no authority allege, but said, "Sir, so there be none obstacle other than this, God of his high miracle and of his mercy may so for you work, that ere you have your rites of holy church, you may repent of wedded manne's life, in which ye say there is no woe nor strife. And else God forbid, but if he sent a wedded man his grace him to repent, well often rather than a single man. And therefore, sir, the best arrayed I can, despair you not, but have in your memory, peradventure she may be your purgatory, she may be God's means and God his whip, and then your soul shall up to heaven skip, swifter than doth an arrow from a bow. I hope to God hereafter ye shall know that there is none so great felicity in marriage, nor ever more shall be, that you shall let of your salvation, so that ye use as skill is and raison the lustes of your wife attemperly, and that ye please her not too amorously, and that ye keep you eke from other sin. My tale is done, for my wit is but thin. Be not aghast hereof, my brother dear, but let us waden out of this mattere. The wife of Bath, if ye have understand of marriage, which ye have now in hand declared, hath full well in little space. Fare ye now well, God have you in his grace. And with this word, this Justin and his brother have taken their leave, and each of them of other. And when they saw that it must needs be, they wrought so by sleight and wise treaty, that she, this maiden, which that Mayes hight, as hastily as ever that she might, shall wedded be unto this January. True, it were too longe you to tarry, if I told you of every script and band by which she was fiaft in his hand, or for to reckon of her rich array. But finally y comen is the day that to the church both be they went, for to receive the holy sacrament. Forth came the priest with stole about his neck, and bade her be like Sarah and Rebek in wisdom and in truth of marriage, and said his orisons, as is usage, and croached them, and prayed God should them bless, and made all sicker enough with holiness. Thus they be wedded with solemnity, and at the feast sat both he and she, with other worthy folk upon the dais. All full of joy and bliss is the palace, all full of instruments and of vitale, the most dainteous of all Italy. Before them stood such instruments of sound that Orpheus nor of Thebes Amphion ne made never such a melody. At every course came in loud minstrelsy that never Joab trumped for to hear, nor he Theodomus yet half so clear, at Thebes when the city was in doubt. Bacchus the wine them skinked all about, and Venus laughed upon every wight, for January was become her nicht, and would both assay his courage in liberty and eke in marriage, and with her firebrand in her hand about danced before the bride with all the rout. And certainly I dare right well say this, Hymenaeus, that god of wedding is, never saw his lief so merry a wedded man. Hold thou thy peace, thou poet Marcian, that writest us that ilke wedding merry, of her philology and him Mercury, and of the songs that the Muses sung. Too small is both my pen and eke thy tongue for to describen of this marriage, when tender youth hath wedded stooping age. There is such mirth that it may not be writ. Essay it yourself, then may ye wit, if that I lee or know in this mattere. Maius, that sat with so benign a cheer, her to behold it seemed fairy. Queen Esther never looked with such an eye on Ahasuerus, so meek a look had she. I may not you devise all her beauty, but thus much of her beauty tell I may, that she was hight the bright morrow of May, full filled of all beauty and pleasance. This January is ravished in a trance at every time he looked in her face, but in his heart he gan her to menace, that he that night in armes would her strain, harder than ever Paris did Helene. But natheless yet had he great pity that thilke night offend her must he, and thought, alas, tender creature, now would God ye mighte well endure. All my courage, it is so sharp and keen, I am aghast ye shall it not sustain. But God forbid that I did all my might. Now would God that it were waxen night, and that the night would lasten evermore. I would that all this people were y go, and finally he did all his labour, as he beste might, saving his honour, to haste them from the meat in subtle ways. The time came that reason was to rise, and after that men dance and drinke fast, and spices all about the house they cast, and full of joy and bliss is every man, all but a squire that hight Damian, who carved before the night full many a day. He was so ravished on his lady May, that for the very pain he was nigh wood. Almost he swelt and swooned where he stood, so sore had Venus hurt him with her brand, as that she bare it dancing in her hand. And to his bed he went him hastily. No more of him as at this time spake I, but there I let him weep enough and plain, till fresh May will rue upon his pain. O perilous fire that in the bedstraw bradeth! O foe familiar that his service badeth! O savin' traitor! O false homely Hugh, like to the adder in bosom shy untrue! God shield us all from your acquaintance, O January, drunken in pleasance Of marriage! See how thy Damian, thine own squire, and thy boren man, intendeth for to do thee villainy. God grant thee thine homely foe to espy, for in this world is no worse pestilence than homely foe all day in thy presence. Performed hath the sun his arc diurn; no longer may the body of him sojourn on the horizon in that latitude, Night with his mantle, that is dark and rude, gan overspread the hemisphere aboot, for which departed is this lusty rout. From January, with thank on every side, home to their houses lustily they ride, where as they do their things as them lest, and when they see their time they go to rest. Soon after that this hasty January will go to bed, he will no longer tarry. He drank hippocras clare and vernage, of spices hot, to increase his courage, and many a lectuary had he full feen, such as the cursed monk Dan Constantine hath written in his book De Coitu. To eat them all he would nothing eschew, and to his privy friends thus said he: For God's love, as soon as it may be, let voiden all this house in courteous wise, and they have done right as he will devise. Men drinken, and the travers draw anon. The bride is brought to bed as still as stone, and when the bed was with the priest y blessed, out of the chamber every wight him dressed, and January hath fast in arms y take his freshe May, his paradise, his make. He lulled her, and he kissed her full oft, with thick bristles of his beard unsoft, like to the skin of houndfish, sharp as briar, for he was shaven all new in his manner. He rubbed her upon her tender face, and saide thus: Alas, I must trespace to you, my spouse, and you greatly offend, ere time come that I will down descend. But natheless consider this," quoth he, "there is no workman, whatsoe'er he be, that may both worke well and hastily. This will be done at leisure perfectly. It is no force how longe that we play. In true wedlock coupled be we tway, and blessed be the yoke that we be in, for in our acts there may be no sin. A man may do no sin with his wife, nor hurt himself with his own knife, for we have leave to play us by the law." Thus labored he, till that the day gan daw. And then he took a sup in fine clare, and upright in his bed then sat he, and after that he sang full loud and clear, and kissed his wife, and made wanton cheer. He was all coltish, full of ragerie, and full of jargon as a flecked pea. The slack skin about his neck shaked, while that he sang, so chanted he and cracked. But God wot what that May thought in her heart, when she saw him up sitting in his shirt, in his nightcap, and with his neck aleen. She praised not his playing worth a bean. Then said he thus: "My rest will I take, now day is come, I may no longer wake." And down he laid his head, and slept till prime. And afterward, when that he saw his time, uprose January. But freshe May held her chamber till the fourthe day, as usage is of waves for the best. For every labour sometime must have rest, or else long may he not endure. That is to say, no life of creature, be it of fish, or bird, or beast, or man. Now will I speak of woeful Damian, that languishes for love, as ye shall hear. Therefore I speak of him in this mannere. I say, O silly Damian, alas, answer to this demand, as in this case. How shalt thou to thy lady freshe May tell thy woe? She will always say nay. Eke if thou speak, she will thy woe bewray. God be thine help, I can no better say. This sicke Damian in Venus' fire So burned that he died for desire, For which he put his life in aventure; No longer might he in this wise endure, But privily a penner gan he borrow, And in a letter wrote he all his sorrow, In a manner of a complaint or a lay, Unto his fair freshe lady May. And in a purse of silk hung on his shirt He hath it put, and laid it at his heart. The moon, that at noon was thicke day, That January had wedded freshe May, In 10 of Tor was into Cancer glided. So long had Maius in her chamber abided, As custom is unto these nobles all. A bride shall not eaten in the ball Till dayes 4, or 3 days at the least, Y passed be, then let her go to feast. The 4th day complete from noon to noon, When that the highe mass was y done, In hall sat this January, and May, As fresh as is the brighte summer's day. And so befell, how that this goode man Remember'd him upon this Damian, And said, "Saint Mary, how may this be, That Damian attendeth not to me? Is he aye sick, or how this may betide?" His squires, which that stoode there beside, Excused him because of his sickness, Which letted him to do his business; None other cause might make him tarry. "That me forthinketh," quoth this January, "He is a gentle squire, by my truth; If that he died, it were great harm and ruth. He is as wise, as discreet, and secre, As any man I know of his degree, And thereto manly, and eke serviceable, And for to be a thrifty man right able. But after meat, as soon as ever I may, I will myself visit him, and eke May, To do him all the comfort that I can." And for that word him blessed every man, That of his bounty and his gentleness He would so comforten in sickness His squire, for it was a gentle deed. "Dame," quoth this January, "take good heed At after meat ye with your women all, When ye that be in chamber out of this hall, That all ye go to see this Damian, Do him disport, he is a gentle man, And tell him that I will him visit, Have I nothing but rested me a lite. And speed ye fast, for I will abide Till that ye sleepe faste by my side." And with that word he gan unto him call A squire, that was marshal of his hall, And told him certain things that he would. This freshe May hath straight her way y hold, With all her women, unto Damian. Down by his bedside sat she then, Comforting him as goodly as she may. This Damian, when that his time he saw, In secret wise his purse and eke his bill, In which that he had written had his will, Hath put into her hand withouten more, Save that he sighed wondrous deep and sore, And softly to her right thus said he: "Mercy, and that ye not discover me, For I am dead, if that this thing be kid." The purse hath she in her bosom hid, And went her way; ye get no more of me. But unto January come is she, That on his bedside sat full soft. He took her, and he kissed her full oft, And laid him down to sleep, and that anon. She feigned her as that she muste gon There, as ye know, that every wight must need. And when she of this bill had taken heed, She rent it all to cloutes at the last, And in the privy softely it cast. Who studieth now but fair fresh May? Adown by olde January she lay, That slept, till the cough had him awaked. Anon he prayed her strip her all naked. He would of her, he said, have some pleasance, And said her clothes did him encumbrance. And she obeyed him, by her life or loth; But, lest that precious folk be with me wroth, How that he wrought, I dare not to you tell, Or whether she thought it paradise or hell; But there I let them worken in their wise, Till evensong ring, and then they muste arise. Were it by destiny or aventure, Were it by influence or by nature, Or constellation, that in such a state The heavens stood at that time fortunate, As for to put a bill of Venus' works, For all thing hath time, as say these clerks, To any woman for to get her love, I cannot say; but greate God above, That knoweth that none act is causeless, He deem of all, for I will hold my peace. For sooth is this, how that this freshe May Hath taken such impression that day Of pity on this sicke Damian, That from her heart she not drive can The remembrance for to do him ease. Certain, thought she, whom that this thing displease, I reckon not, for here I him assure To love him best of any creature, Though he no more hadde than his shirt. Lo, pity runneth soon in gentle heart. Here may ye see how excellent franchise In women is, when they them narrow advise. Some tyrant is, as there be many a one, That hath a heart as hard as any stone, Which would have let him starven in the place, Well rather than have granted him her grace, And then rejoicing in her cruel pride, And reckon not to be a homicide. This gentle May, full filled of pity, Right of her hand a letter maked she, In which she granted him her very grace. There lacked nought, but only day and place, Where that she might unto his lust suffice. For it shall be right as he will devise. And when she saw her time upon a day To visit this Damian went this May, And subtilly this letter down she thrust Under his pillow, read it if him lust. She took him by the hand, and hard him twist So secretly, that no wight of it wist, And bade him be all whole, and forth she went To January, when he for her sent. Up rose Damian the nexte morrow, All past was his sickness and his sorrow. He combed him, he pruined him, and picked; He did all that unto his lady liked. And eke to January he went as low As ever did a dog afore the bow. He is so pleasant unto every man, For craft is all, whoso that do it can. Every wight is fain to speak him good, And fully in his lady's grace he stood. Thus leave I Damian about his need, And in my tale forth I will proceed. Some clerkes hold that felicity Stands in delight, and therefore certain he This noble January with all his might In honest wise as longeth to a knight Shope him to live full deliciously, His housing, his array, as honestly To his degree was maked as a king's, Amonges other of his honest things. He had a garden walled all with stone; So fair a garden wot I nowhere none. For out of doubt I verily suppose That he that wrote the romance of the rose Could not of it the beauty well devise, Nor Priapus might not well suffice, Though he be god of gardens, for to tell The beauty of the garden, and the well that stood under a laurel always green. Full oftentime he Pluto and his queen Proserpina and all their fairy disported them and made melody about that well, and danced, as men told. This noble knight, this January old, such dainty had it in it to walk and play, that he would suffer no wight to bear the key, save he himself, for of the small wicket he bare always a silver clicket, with which, when that him list, he it unshet, and when that he would pay his wife's debt, in summer season thither he would go, and may his wife, and no white but they two, and thinges which that were not done in bed, he in the garden them performed and sped. And in this wise many a merry day lived this January and freshe May. But worldly joy may not always endure to January, nor to no creature. O sudden hap, O thou fortune unstable, like to the scorpion so deceivable, that fatterest with thy head when thou wilt sting, thy tail is death through thine envenoming. O brittle joy, O sweet poison quaint, O monster, that so subtly canst paint thy gifts under hue of steadfastness, that thou deceivest both more and lesse. Why hast thou January thus deceived, that haddest him for thy full friend received? And now thou hast bereft him both his eyen, for sorrow of which desireth he to dien. Alas, this noble January free amid his lust and his prosperity is waxen blind, and that all suddenly. He weeped and he wailed piteously, and therewithal the fire of jealousy, lest that his wife should fall in some folly, so burnt his heart, that he would fain that some man both him and her had slain, for neither after his death nor in his life ne would he that she were no love nor wife, but ever live as widow in clothes black, sole as the turtle that hath lost her make. But at the last, after a month or tway, his sorrow gan assuage, sothe to say. For when he wist it might none other be, he patiently took his adversity, save out of dote he may not forgon, that he was jealous evermore in one, which jealousy was so outrageous, that neither in hall nor in none other house, nor in none other place nevermore he would suffer her to ride or go. But if that he had hand on her alway, for which full often wept a freshe May, that loved Damian so burningly, that she might either dien suddenly, or else she must have him at her last. She waited, when her heart would brest. Upon that other side Damian becomen is the sorrowfullest man that ever was, for neither night nor day he might speak a word to freshe May, as to his purpose, of no such mattere. But if that January must it hear, that had a hand upon her evermore, but natheless by writing to and fro and privy signs wist he what she meant, and she knew eke the fine of his intent. O January, might it thee avail, though thou might see as far as ships sail, for as good is it blind deceived to be, as be deceived when a man may see. Lo, Argus, which that had 100 eyen, for all that ever he could pour or prien, Yet he was blent, and God wot so bemore, that ween wisely that it be not so. Pass over is an ease, I say no more. This freshe May, of which I spake yore, in warm wax hath imprinted the clicket that January bare of the small wicket, by which into his garden off he went. And Damian, that knew all her intent, the clicket counterfeited privily. There is no more to say, but hastily some wonder by this clicket shall betide, which ye shall hearen, if ye will abide. O noble Ovid, sooth sayest thou, God wot what sleight it is, if love be long and hot, that he'll not find it out in some mannere. The Pyramus and Thisbe man may man lear, though they were kept full long and straight o'er all, they be accorded rowning through a wall, where no wight could have found out such a sleight. But now to purpose, ere the dayes 8 were past of this month of July, fill, that January caught so great a will, through egging of his wife, him for to play in his garden, and no wight but they tway. That in a morning to this May said he, "Rise up, my wife, my love, my lady free. The turtle's voice is heard, mine owen sweet. The winter is gone with his rains wet. Come forth now with your eyen columbine. Well fairer be thy breasts than any wine. The garden is enclosed all about. Come forth, my white spouse, for out of doubt thou hast me wounded in my heart, O wife. No spot in thee was e'er in all thy life. Come forth, and let us taken our disport. I choose thee for my wife and my comfort." Such old lewed wordes used he. On Damian a sign made she, that he should go before with his clicket. This Damian then hath opened the wicket, and in he start, and that in such mannere that no wight might him either see or hear, and still he sat under a bush. Anon, this January, as blinde as a stone, with maes in his hand, and no wight more, into this freshe garden is he go, and clapped to the wicket suddenly. "Now, wife," quoth he, "here is but thou and I. Thou art the creature that I best love, for by that Lord that sits in heaven above, lever had I to dien on a knife than thee offende, dear true wife. For Godde's sake, think how I thee chese, not for no covetous doubteless, but only for the love I had to thee. And though that I be old and may not see, be to me true, and I will tell you why. Certes 3 things shall ye win thereby. First, love of Christ, and to yourself honour, and all mine heritage, town and tower, I give it you. Make charters as you lest. This shall be done tomorrow ere sun rest. So wisely God my soul bring to bliss. I pray ye on this covenant me kiss, and though that I be jealous, weet me not. Ye be so deep imprinted in my thought, that when that I consider your beauty, and therewithal the unlikely eld of me, I may not, certes, though I should die, forbear to be out of your company. For very love, this is without doubt. Now kiss me, wife, and let us roam about." This freshe May, when she this wordes heard, benignly to January answered. But first and forward she began to weep. "I have," quoth she, "a soule for to keep, As well as ye, and also mine honour, And of my wiefhood thilke tender flower, Which that I have assured in your hand, When that the priest to you my body bond. Wherefore I will answer in this mannere, With leave of you, mine owen lord so dear. I pray to God that never dawn the day That I no sterve as foul as women may. If e'er I do unto my kin that shame, Or else I impair so my name, That I be false, and if I do that lack, Do strippe me, and put me in a sack, And in the nexte river do me drench. I am a gentle woman, and no wench. Why speak ye thus? But men be e'er untrue, And women have reproof of you aye new. Ye know none other dalliance, I believe, But speak to us of untrust and reprieve." And with that word she saw where Damian sat in the bush, And coughe she began, and with her finger sign made she, That Damian should climb upon a tree That charged was with fruit, and up he went. For verily he knew all her intent, And every sign that she could make, Better than January her owen make. For in a letter she told him all Of this mattere, how that he worke shall. And thus I leave him sitting in the perry, And January and May roaming full merry. Bright was the day, and blue the firmament. Phoebus of gold his streames down had sent, To gladden every flower with his warmeness. He was that time in Gemini's, I guesse. But little from his declination Of Cancer, Jove's exaltation. And so befell in that bright morning tide, That in the garden on the farther side, Pluto, that is king of faery, And many a lady in his company, Following his wife, the queen Proserpina, Which that he ravished out of Ethna, While that she gathered flowers in the mead. In Claudian you may the story read, How in his grisly chariot he her fete, This king of fairies, adown him set Upon a bank of turfs fresh and green. And right anon thus said he to his queen: "My wife," quoth he, "there may no whit say nay; Experience so proves it every day, The treason which that woman doth to man. 100,000 stories tell I can, Notable of your untruth and brittleness. O Solomon, richest of all riches, Full filled of sapience and worldly glory, Full worthy be thy wordes of memory. To every wight that wit and reason can, Thus praised he yet the bounty of man. Among 1,000 men yet found I one, But of all women found I never none." Thus said this king, that knew your wickedness. And Jesus, filius Sirach, as I guess, He spake of you but seldom reverence. A wild fire and corrupt pestilence So fall upon your bodies yet tonight. Ne see ye not this honourable knight? Because, alas, that he is blind and old, His owen man shall make him cuckold. Lo, where he sits, the lecher, in the tree! Now will I granten of my majesty Unto this olde blind worthy knight, That he shall have again his eyen sight. When that his wife will do him villainy, then shall be knowen all her harlotry, both in reproof of her and other more. "Yea, sir," quoth Proserpine, "and will ye so? Now by my mother's serious soul I swear that I shall give her suffisant answer, and alle women after, for her sake, that though they be in any guilt I take, with face bold they shall themselves excuse, and bear them down that woulde them accuse. For lack of answer none of them shall dien. All had ye seen a thing with both your eyen, yet shall we visage it so hardily, and weep and swear and chide subtilly, that ye shall be as lewed as be geese. What recketh me of your authorities? I wot well that this Jew, this Solomon, found of us women fools many one, but though that he found no good woman, yet there hath found many another man, woman full good and true and virtuous, witness on them that dwelt in Christ's house with martyrdom they proved their constance. The Roman jests make remembrance of many a very true wife also. But, sire, be not wroth, albeit so. Though that he said he found no good woman, I pray you take the sentence of the man. He meant thus, that in sovereign bounty is none but God, no, neither he nor she. Hey, for the very good God that is but one, why make you so much of Solomon? What though he made a temple, God's house? What though he were rich and glorious? So made he eke a temple of false gods. How might he do a thing that more forbode is? Pardie, as fair as ye his name emplaster. He was a lecher and an idolaster, and in his eld he very God forsook. And if that God had not, as saith the book, spared him for his father's sake, he should have lost his reign rather than he would. I set not of all the villainy that he of women wrote a butterfly. I am a woman, needs must I speak, or else swell until mine hearte break. For since he said that we be jangleresses, as ever may I brook whole my tresses, I shall not spare for no courtesy to speak him harm that said us villainy. Dame, quoth this Pluto, be no longer wroth, I give it up. But since I swore mine oath that I would grant to him his sight again, my word shall stand, that warn I you certain. I am a king, it sits me not to lie, and I, quoth she, am queen of faery. Her answer she shall have, I undertake. Let us no more words of it make. Forsooth, I will no longer you contrary. Now let us turn again to January, that in the garden with his fair May singeth well merrier than the popinjay. You love I best, and shall and other none, so long about the alleys is he gone, till he was come to that ilke perry, where as this Damian sat full merry on high among the freshe leaves green. This fresh May, that is so bright and sheen, gan for to sigh, and said, "Alas, my side! Now, sir," quoth she, "for aught that may betide, I must have of the peares that I see, or must I die, so sore longeth me to eaten of the small peares green. Help, for her love that is of heaven queen, I tell you well, a woman in my plight may have to fruit so great an appetite, that she may dien but she of it have. Alas, quoth he, that I had here a knave that could climb. Alas, alas, quoth he, for I am blind. Yea, sir, no force, quoth she, but would ye vouchsake for Godde's sake? The perry in your arms for me to take, for well I wot that you mistruste me. Then would I climb well enough, quoth she, so I my foot might set upon your back. Certes, said he, therein shall be no lack. Might he help you with mine hearte's blood? He stooped down, on his back she stood, and caught her by a twist, and up she go'th. Ladies, I pray you that ye be not wroth, I cannot glose, I am a rude man. And suddenly anon this Damian gan pullen up the smock, and in he throng. And when that Pluto saw this greate wrong, to January he gave again his sight, and made him see as well as ever he might. And when he thus had caught his sight again, was never man of anything so fain, but on his wife his thought was evermore. Up to the tree he cast his eyen two, and saw how Damian his wife had dressed in such manner it may not be expressed. But if he would speak uncourteously, and up he gave a roaring and a cry, as doth the mother when the child shall die. Out, help, alas, haro, he gan to cry. O strange lady, straw, what dost thou? And she answered, Sir, what aileth you? Have patience and reason in your mind. I have you helped on both your eyen blind. On peril of my soul I shall not lien. As me was taught to helpe with your eyen, was nothing better for to make you see than struggle with a man upon a tree. God wot, I did it in full good intent. Struggle, quoth he, yea, algate in it went. God give you both one shame's death to dien. He swived thee, I saw it with mine eyen, and else be I hanged by the halse. Then is, quoth she, my medicine all false, for certainly if that ye mighte see, ye would not say these words unto me. Ye have some glimpsing, and no perfect sight. I see, quoth he, as well as ever I might. Thanked be God, with both mine eyen two, and by my faith methought he did thee so. Ye maze, good sir, quoth she. This thank have I, for I have made you see. Alas, quoth she, that ere I was so kind. Now, dame, quoth he, let all pass out of mind. Come down, my lief, and if I have missaid, God help me so, as I am evil apaid. But by my father's soul, I weened have seen how that this Damian had by thee lain, and that thy smock had lain upon his breast. Yes, sir, quoth she, ye may ween as ye lest. But, sir, a man that wakes out of his sleep, he may not suddenly well take keep upon a thing, nor see it perfectly, till that he be adawed verily. Richt so a man that long hath blind I be, he may not suddenly so well I see, first when his sight is new come again, as he that hath a day or two y seen, till that your sight established be a while. There may full many a sight you beguile. Beware, I pray you, for by heaven's king, full many a man weeneth to see a thing, and it is all another than it seemeth. He which that misconceiveth oft misdeemeth, and which that word she leaped down from the tree. This January, who is glad but he? He kissed her and clipped her full oft, and on her womb he stroked her full soft, and to his palace home he hath her laid. Now, goode men, I pray you to be glad. Thus endeth here my tale of January. God bless us, and his mother, Sainte Mary. End of the Merchant's Tale.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Joshua Young. homepages.nyu.edu/RJY201. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. Edited by D. Laing Purves. This reading is based on the book The Canterbury Tales and Other Poems. The original text contains poems by Chaucer and a lot of notes and explanations by the editor. To view these, please click on the Gutenberg eText link on the LibriVox catalog page of The Canterbury Tales. The Squire's Tale, Pars Prima, First Part. At Sarra, in the land of Tartary, there dwelt a king that warred Russie, through which there died many a doughty man. This noble king was called Cambuscan, which in his time was of so great renown, that there was nowhere in no region so excellent a lord in all thing. Him lacked not that longeth to a king, as of the sect of which that he was born. He kept his law, to which he was y-sworn, and thereto he was hardy, wise, and rich, and piteous, and just, always y-like. True of his word, benign and honourable, of his courage as any sinner stable, young, fresh, and strong, in arms desirous as any bachelor of all his house. A fair person he was, and fortunate, and kept alway so well his royal estate, that there was nowhere such another man. This noble king, this Tartar Cambuscan, had two sons by Elfeta his wife, of which the eldest hight Algarsife, the other was he called Cambalo. A daughter had this worthy king also, that youngest was, and hight Canas. But for to tell you all her beauty, it lies not in my tongue, nor my cunning. I dare not undertake so high a thing. Mine English eke is insufficient. It must be a rhetor excellent, that couth his colours longing for that art. If he should her describe in any part, I am none such. I must speak as I can. And so befell, that when this Cambuscan had 20 winters borne his diadem, as he was wont from year to year, I deem he let the feast of his nativity do cry throughout Sarra his city, the last Ides of March after the year. Phoebus the sun full jolly was and clear, for he was nigh his exaltation in Mart's face, and in his mansion in Aries the choleric hot sign full lusty was the weather and benign, for which the fowls against the sun sheen, what for the season and the young green. Full loud sang their affectations, them seemed to have got protections against the sword of winter keen and cold. This Cambuscan, of which I have you told, in royal vesture sat upon his dais, with diadem, full high in his palace, and held his feast so solemn and so rich, that in this world was there none it lich, of which if I should tell all the array, then would it occupy a summer's day, and eke it needeth not for to devise at every course the order of service. I will not tellen of their strange sews, nor of their swains, nor of their heron sews, eke in that land, as tell knights old, There is some meat that is full dainty hold, that in this land men reck of it full small. There is no man that may reporten all. I will not tarry you, for it is prime, and for it is no fruit, but loss of time. Unto my purpose I will have recourse. And so befell that, after the third course, while that this king sat thus in his nobley, hearing his minstrels their things play before him at his board deliciously. And at the hall door all suddenly there came a knight upon a steed of brass, and in his hand a broad mirror of glass. Upon his thumb he had of gold a ring, and by his side a naked sword hanging. And up he rode into the high board. In all the hall was there not spoke a word, for marvel of this knight, him to behold. Full busily they waited, young and old. This strange knight, that came thus suddenly, all armed, save his head, full richly, saluted king, and queen, and lords all, by order as they sat in the hall, with so high reverence and observance, as well in speech as in his countenance, that Gawain, with his old courtesy, though he were come again out of faery, him could not amend with a word. And after this, before the high board, he with a manly voice said his message, after the form used in his language, without vice, or syllable, or letter, and, for his tale should seem the better, accordant to his words was his cheer, as teacheth art of speech them that it lear. Albeit that I cannot sound his style, nor cannot climb over so high a stile, yet say I this, as to commune intent, thus much amounteth all that ever he meant, if it so be that I have it in mind. He said, the king of Erbaind, my liege lord, on this solemn day, saluteth you as he best can and may, and sendeth you, in honor of your feast, by me, that am already at your hest, this steed of brass, that easily and well can in the space of one day natural, this is to say in 24 hours, whereso you list, in drought or else in showers, bear your body into every place to which your heart willeth for to pace, without whim of you, through foul or fair, or if you list to fly as high in the air as doth an eagle, when him list to soar, this same steed shall bear you evermore without harm, till ye be where you lest, though that ye sleepen on his back or rest. And turn again with writhing of pen, he that it wrought, he could many again, he waited in any a constellation, ere he had done this operation, and knew full many a seal and many a bond. This mirror eke that I have in mind hond hath such a might, that men may in it see, when there shall fall any adversity unto your realm, or to yourself also, and openly who is your friend or foe. And over all this, if any lady bright hath set her heart on any manner wight, if he be false, she shall see his treason, for his new love, and all his subtlety, so openly that there shall nothing hide. Wherefore against this lusty summertide, this mirror and this ring that ye may see, he hath sent to my lady Canace, your excellent daughter that is here. The virtue of this ring, if ye will hear, is this, that if her list it for to wear, upon her thumb or in her purse it bear, there is no fowl that flieth under heaven, that she shall not well understand his stiven, and know his meaning openly and plain, and answer him in language again. And every grass that groweth upon root, she shall eke know, to whom it will do boot, all be his wounds ne'er so deep and wide. This naked sword that hangeth by my side such virtue hath, that what man that it smite, throughout his armor it will carve and bite, were it as thick as is a branched oak. And what man is he wounded with a stroke shall ne'er be whole, till that you list of grace to stroke him with the flat in thilke place where he is hurt. This is as much to sayn, you must with the flat sword again stroke him upon the wound, and it will close. This is the very sooth without gloss, it faileth not, while it is in your hold. And when this knight had thus his tale told, he rode out of the hall, and down he light. His steed, which that shone as sun bright, stood in the court as still as any stone. The knight is to his chamber led anon, and is unarmed, and to meat y set. These presents be full richly y fet. This is to say, the sword and the mirror, and borne anon into the high tower, with certain officers ordained therefor. And unto Canace the ring is bore solemnly, where she sat at the table, but secretly without torn any fable. The horse of brass, that may not be remued, it stood as it were to the ground y glued. There may no man out of the place it drive, for no engine of windlass or polive, and cause why, for they can not the craft. And therefore in the place they have it laughed, till that the knight hath taught them the manner to void him, as ye shall after hear. Great was the press that swarmed to and fro, to garn on this horse that stood so. For it so high was, and so broad and long, so well proportioned for to be strong, right as it were a steed of Lombardy, therewith so horsely and so quick of eye, as it gentle play courser were. For certes, from his tail unto his ear, nature nor art ne could him not amend, in no degree, as all the people wend. But evermore their most wonder was, how that it could go, and was of brass. It was of fairy, as the people seemed, diverse folk diversely they deemed. As many heads, as many wits been. They murmured as doth a swarm of bin, and made skills after their fantasies, rehearsing of the old poetries, and said that it was like the Pegasee, the horse that had wings for it to flee, or else it was the Greek's horse Sinon that brought Troy to destruction, as men may in the old gestes read. Mine heart, quoth one, is evermore in dread. I trow some men of arms be therein, that shape them with this city for to win. It were right good that all such things were known. Another round to his fellow low, and said, He lies, for it is rather like an appearance made by some magic, as jugglers playen at these feasts great. Of sundry doubts they jangled thus and treat, as lewed people deem commonly of things that be made more subtly than they can in their lewdness comprehend. They deem gladly to the badder end. And some of them wonder on the mirror that borne was up into the master tower, how men might knit such things see. Another answered and said, it might well be naturally by compositions of angles and of sly reflections, and said that in Rome was such a one. They speak of Alhazen and Vitellon, and Aristotle, that wrote in their lives of quaint mirrors and of perspectives, as know they that have their books heard. And other folk have wondered on the sword, that would pierce throughout anything, and fell in speech of Telephus the king, and of Achilles for his quaint spear, for he could with it both heal and dare. Right in such wise men may with the sword, of which right now you have yourselves heard. They spake of sundry hardening of metal, and spake of medicines therewithal, and how, and when it should be hardened be, which is unknown algate unto me. Then spake they of Canace's ring, and said in all, that such a wondrous thing of craft and rings heard they never none, save that he, Moses, and King Solomon hadden a name of conning in such art. Thus said the people, and drew them apart. Put nathless some say that it was wonder to maken of fern ashes glass, and yet is glass not like ashes of fern. But for they have known it is so fern, therefore ceases their jangling and their wonder, as sore wonder some on cause of thunder, and ebb and flood, on gossamer and mist, and on all things, till that the cause is wist. Thus jangle they, and demon and devise, till that the king gan from his board arise. Phoebus had left the angle meridional, and yet ascending was the beast royal, the gentle lion, with his aldrian, when that this Tartar king, this Cambuscan, rose from the board, there as he sat full high, before him went the loud minstrelsy, till he came to his chamber of parements, there as they sounded diverse instruments. that it was like a heaven for to hear. Now danced lusty Venus' children dear, for in the fish their lady sat full, and looked on them with a friendly eye. This noble king is set upon his throne, this strange knight is fetched to him full soon, and on the dance he goes with finesse. Here is the revel and the jollity, that is not able a dull man to devise. He must have knowen love and his service, and been a feastly man, as fresh as May, that should you devise such array. Who could tellen you the form of dances, so uncouth, and so fresh countenances, such subtle lookings and dissimulances, for dread of jealous men's appearancings? No man but Launcelot, and he is dead. Therefore I pass o'er all this lusty head. I say no more, but in this jolliness I leave them, till to supper men them dress. The steward bids the spices for to hie, and eke the wine, and all this melody. The ushers and the squires be gone. The spices and the wine is come anon. They eat and drink, and when this hath an end, unto the temple, as reason was, they wend. This service done, they suppen all by day. What needeth you rehearse their array? Each man wot well that at a king's feast is plenty to the most and to the least, and dauntless more be in my knowing. As after supper went this noble king to see the horse of brass, with all a rout of lords and of ladies him about. Such wondering was there on this horse of brass, that since the great siege of Troy was, there as men wondered on a horse also. Ne'er was there such a wondering as was though. But finally the king asked the knight the virtue of this courser, and the might, and prayed him to tell his governance. The horse anon began to trip and dance, when that the knight laid hand upon his rein, and said, "Sir, there is no more to sayn, but when you list to ride any way, you must trill a pin stands in his ear, which I shall tell you betwixt us two. You must name him to what place also, or to what country that you list to ride. And when ye come where ye list abide, bid him descend, and trill another pin, for therein lies the effect of all the gin. And he will down descend and do your will, and in that place he will abide still. Though all the world had the contrary swore, he shall not thence be thrown nor be bore. Or if you list to bid him then gone, trill this pin, and he will vanish anon, out of the sight of every man or wit. And come again, be it by day or night, when that you list to clepe him again in such a guise, as I shall to you sayn betwixt you and me, and that full soon. Ride when you list, there is no more to don. Informed when the king was of the knight, and had him conceived in this wit aright, the manner and the form of all this thing, full glad and blithe, this nobly doughty king repaired to his revel as beforn. The bridle is into the tower borne, and kept among his jewels life and dear. The horse vanished, I not in what manner, out of their sight, yet get no more of me. And thus I leave in lust and jollity this Cambuscan his lords feasting, until well nigh the day began to spring. Pars secunda, second part. The Norse of digestion, the sleep, gan on them wink, and bade them take keep, that much mirth and labour will have rest, and with a gaping mouth he all them kest, and said that it was time to lie down, for blood was in his domination. Cherish the blood, nature's friend, quoth he. They thanked him gaping by two and three, and every wit gan draw him to his rest. As sleep them bade, they took it for the best. Their dreams shall not now be told for me. Full are the heeds of famosity, that cause dreams of which there is no charge. They slept, till that it was the prime large. The most part, but it was Canace. She was full measurable as woman be, for of her father had she taken after, to go to rest soon after it was eve, her lists not appalled for to be, nor on the morrow unfeastly for to see, and slept her first sleep, and then awoke. For such a joy she in her heart took, both of her quainte ring and her mirror, that 20 times she changed her colour, and in her sleep, right for the impression of her mirror, she had a vision. Wherefore ere that the sun gan beglide, she called upon her mistress her beside, and said that her lists for to rise. These old women that be gladly wise, as are her mistresses, answered anon, and said, "Madam, whither will ye gon thus early? For the folk be all in rest, "I will," quoth she, "arise, for me lest no longer for to sleep, and walk about." Her mistresses called women a great rout, and up they rose, well a 10 or 12. Up rose fresh Canace herself, as ruddy and bright as is the young sun, that in the ram is 4 degrees y run. No higher was he, when she ready was, and forth she walked easily apace, arrayed after the lusty season's swoot, lightly for to play and walk on foot, naught but with 5 or 6 of her meaning. And in a trench forth in the park went she, the vapour, which up from the earth glod, made the sun to seem ruddy and broad. But natheless it was so fair a sight, that it made all their hearts for to light. What for the season, and the morning, and for the fowls that she heard sing. For right anon she wist what they meant, right by their song, and knew all their intent. The nought, why that every tale is told, if it be tarried, till the list be cold, of them that have it hearkened after yore, the savour passeth ever longer more, for fulsomeness of the prolixity. And by that same reason thinketh me, I should unto the nought condescend, and maken of her walking soon an end. Amid a tree for dry, as white as chalk, there sat a falcon o'er her head full high, that with a piteous voice so gan to cry, that all the wood resounded of her cry, and beat she had herself so piteously with both her wings, till the red blood ran in long the tree, there as she stood, and ever in one, always she cried and shright, and with her beak herself so pight, that there is no tiger nor cruel beast that dwelleth either in wood or in forest, but would have wept, if that he weep could, for sorrow of her. She shrieked always so loud, for there was never yet no man alive, if that he could a falcon well descrive, that heard of such another of fairness, as well as plumage, as of gentleness, of shape, of all that might reckoned be a falcon peregrines seems she. Of a fremd land, and ever as she stood, she swooned now, and now for lack of blood, till well nigh is she fallen from the tree. This fair king's daughter Canace, that on her finger bare the quaint ring, through which she understood well everything that any fowl may in her leaden sayn, and could him answer in his leaden again, hath understood what this falcon said, and well now for the ruth almost she died, and to the tree she went full hastily, and on this falcon looked piteously, and held her lap abroad, for well she wist the falcon must fall from the twist, when that she swooned next for lack of blood. A long while to wait her she stood, till at the last she spake in this manner unto the hawk, as ye shall after hear. What is the cause? If it be for to tell that ye be in this furial pain of hell, quoth Canace unto this hawk above, is this for sorrow of death, or loss of love? For, as I trow, these be the causes two, that cause most a gentle heart woe. Of other harm it needeth not to speak, for ye yourself upon yourself awreak, which proveth well that either ire or dread must be occasion of your cruel deed, since that I see none other wight you chase, for love of God, as do yourself grace. Or what may be your help? For west nor east I never saw ere now so bird nor beast that fared with himself so piteously. Ye slay me with your sorrow, verily. I have of you so great compassion, for God's love come from the tree adown, and, as I am a king's daughter true, if that I verily the causes knew of your disease, if it lay in my might, I would amend it, ere that it were night. So wisely help me the great God of kind, and herbies shall I right enough find, to heal with your hurts hastily. Then shrieked this falcon yet more piteously than ever she did, and fell to the ground anon, and lay a swoon as dead as lies a stone, till Canace had in her lap her take. Unto that time she gan of swoon awake, and after that she out of swoon abraid. Right in her hawk's leaden thus she said, that pity runneth soon in gentle heart, feeling his similitude in pain smart, is proved every day, as men may see, as well by work as by authority. For gentle heart kith gentleness. I see well that ye have on my distress compassion, my fair Canace, of very womanly benignity, that nature in your principles has set. But for no hope for to fare the bet, but for to be unto your heart free, and for to make others aware by me, as by the whelp chastised is the lion. Right for that cause and that conclusion, while that I have a leisure and a space, mine harm I will confession ere apace. And ever while that one her sorrow told, the other wept, as she to water hold, till that the falcon bade her to be still, and with a sigh right thus she said her till, where I was bred, alas, that like that day, and fostered in rock of marble gray, so tenderly, that nothing ailed me. I wist not what was her adversity, till I could flee full high under the sky. Then dwelled a tercelet me fast by, that seemed a well of all gentleness. All were he full of treason and falseness. It was so wrapped under humble cheer, and under hue of truth in such manner, under pleasance and under busy pain, that no wight weened that he could feign. So deep in grain he dyed his colours, right as a serpent hides him under flowers, till he may see his time for to bite. Right so this god of love's hypocrite did so his ceremonies and obeisances, and kept in semblance all his observances, that sudden unto gentleness of love. As on a tomb is all the fair above, and under is the corpse which that ye wet, such was this hypocrite, both cold and hot, and in this wise he served his intent, that save the fiend none wist what he meant, till he so long had weeped and complained, and many a year his service to me feigned, till that mine heart, too piteous and too nice, all innocent of his crowned malice, for feared of his death as thought me, upon his oaths and his surety, granted him love on this condition, that evermore mine honour and renown were saved, both privy and apert. This is to say, that after his descent I gave him all my heart and all my thought, God wot, and he that other waste not, and took his heart in change of mind for aye. But sooth is said, gone since many a day, a true wight and thief think not one. And when he saw the thing so far y gone, that I have granted him fully my love, in such a wise as I have said above, and given him my heart as free, true, as he swore that he gave his heart to me. Anon this tiger, full of doubleness, fell on his knees with so great humbleness, with so high reverence, and by his cheer, so like a gentle lover in manner, so ravished as it seemed for the joy, that never Jason, nor Paris of Troy, Jason, certes, nor ever other man, since Lamech was that alder first began to love two as right folk beforn, nor ever since the first man was born, could no one by 20,000 counterfeit the sophimes of his art, where doubleness of feigning should approach, nor worthy were t'unbuckle his galosh, nor could so thank a wight as he did me. His manner was a heaven for to see, to any woman, were she ne'er so wise, so painted he and kempt at point devise, as well his words as his countenance, and I so loved for his obedience, and for the truth I deemed in his heart, that if so were that anything him smart, all were it ne'er so light, and I it wist. Methought I felt death at my heart twist, and shortly so far forth this thing is went, that my will was his will instrument. That is to say, my wills obeyed his will in all thing, as far as reason fill, keeping the bounds of my worship ever, and never had I a thing so left or lever as him God wot nor ever shall no more. This lasted longer than a year or two, that I supposed of him naught but good, but finally thus at the last it stood, that fortune would that he must win out of that place which that I was in, where me was woe. It is no question, I cannot make of it description. For one thing dare I tell boldly, I know what is the pain of death thereby. Such harm I felt, for he might not believe. So on a day of me he took his leave, so sorrowful eke, that I ween verily that he had felt as much harm as I, when that I heard him speak and saw his hue. But nathless I thought he was so true, and eke that he repair should again, within a little while, sooth to sayn, and reason would eke that he must go, for his honour, as often happeneth so, that I made virtue of necessity, and took it will, since that it must be. As I best might, I hid from him my sorrow, and took him by the hand, Saint John to borrow, and said him thus: Lo, I am yours all. Be such as I have been to you, and shall. What he answered it needs not to rehearse. Who can say bet that he, who can do worse? When he had all well said, then had he done. Therefore That shall behoveth
the fiend,
him
thus
a
heard I
full
say.
long spoon.
So at the last he must forth
his way, and forth he flew, till he came where him lest. When it came him to propose for to rest, I trow that he had thilke text in mind, that all thing repairing to his kind gladdeth himself. Thus say men, as I guess. Men love of, proper, kind, new thingless, as birds do, that men in cages feed. For though thou night and day take of them heed, and strew their cage fair and soft as silk, and give them sugar, honey, bread, and milk, yet right anon, as that his door is up, he with his feet will spurn down his cup, and to the wood he will, and worms eat. So Newfangle buy they of their meat, and love novelties of proper kind. No gentleness of blood may them bind. So far this tercelet, alas the day, though he were gentle born, and fresh, and gay, and goodly for to me, and humble, and free, he saw upon a time a kite flee. And suddenly he loved this kite so, that all his love is clean from me y-go, and hath his troth falsed in this wise, that hath the kite my love in her service, and I am lorn without remedy. And with that word this falcon gan to cry, and swooned eft in Canas's barn. Great was the sorrow for that hawke's harm. That Canas and all her women made, they wist not how they might the falcon glade, but Canas home bare her in her lap, and softly in plasters gan her wrap. There as she with her beak had hurt herself. Now cannot Canas but herbs delve out of the ground, and make salves new of herbs precious and fine of hue, to heal with this hawk from day to night. She did her business, and all her might, and by her bed's head she made a mew, and covered it with violets blue, in sign of truth that is in woman seen. And all without the mew was painted green, in which were painted all these false fowls, as by the tittifes, tercelets, and owls, and pies, on them for to cry and chide. Right, for to spite were painted them beside. Thus leave I Canas her hawk keeping. I will no more as now speak of her ring, till it come eft to purpose for to sayn, how that this falcon got her love again, repentant, as the story telleth, by mediation of Cambalus, the king's son, of which that I told you. But henceforth I will my process hold, to speak of adventures, and of battles, that yet was never heard so great marvels. First I will tell you of Cambuscan, that in his time many a city wan, and after will I speak of Algarsife, how he won Theodora to his wife, for whom full oft in great peril he was, and he had been holden by the horse of brass. And after will I speak of Camballo, that fought in lists with the brethren two for Canas, ere that he might her win. And where I left I will again begin. End of Squire's Tale.